Man, that debate last night, I got to tell you, the GOP lesser-known debates, didn't really care for them. Didn't know if I wanted to watch it, but when we did, it was incredible. Vivek Ramaswamy stole the show, shattering all the online informal polls. But you know it, the corporate press is claiming he failed. He did the worst. I love it. The New York Times saying Nikki Haley actually did the best, and Vivek did the worst. Meanwhile, all of the trends, all the searches are Vivek, Vivek, Vivek. He absolutely nailed it. So, of course, now there's a clip going around of Ronna McDaniel, who's very upset, claiming that Vivek voted for Obama. Here's the best part. Timcast got a scoop right after the show because, of course, like we know everybody who's basically at the debate. And Ronna apparently said, as Vivek was roasting her, he's an a-hole, he's not getting a cent from us. Vivek commented saying this is corrupt, basically calling it corruption. So this is crazy. The top story, however, Donald Trump said on, I think it was Clay Travis's show with Buck Sexton, that Tucker Carlson would be good for VP. It's a question of whether or not Tucker would do it, but we keep asking this question because a lot of people are saying that the GOP debate was actually the VP debate. Yeah, right. As if Chris Christie wants to be VP for Trump. Maybe Vivek, but he says he doesn't want to do it. I personally would love to see a Trump Carlson ticket. That would be, I don't see how that loses. I got to be completely honest. But, you know, who knows? Maybe we're in a bubble. So we'll talk about that. Plus a crazy story out of New Jersey, a January 6th manhunt. Apparently they're using APCs, helicopters, dogs. They found a guy. They want to arrest him, and he fled. So we'll talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. You must support the show by buying our official sponsor's product. Our official sponsor, us, of course, is our coffee company. If you like the idea that there will be physical locations all over the country where people can hang out, meet up, and when you walk in, there will be TVs playing the likes of Timcast, the likes of Steven Crowder, Stick, Sex and Hammer, etc., Viva Fry, then support us by buying Cast Brew coffee because I got good news. A whole bunch of important equipment for the cafe came in today, so it's looking like it's going to be up and running soon. If you like the efforts in the physical meat space, go to Casper.com, pick up. My favorite is personally Appalachian Nights. Of course, you can get Rise with Roberto Jr. Breakfast Blend. That's the number one favorite. And our limited edition Rise with Roberto Jr. Get it while it lasts because once it's gone, it's never coming back. But don't forget, go to Timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member, and watch Infringed. Gun Rights in America by Lauren Southern, proud to have supported Lauren Southern. I combined her name into one word in the production of this, and we're really excited to have it as a members only on Timcast. We're going to be putting up clips. We're running a ton of marketing behind this. So just know this documentary is absolutely advocacy for gun rights. And if you believe in the right to keep and bear arms like we do, watch the documentary, learn a little bit, share it with your friends, and support our work. Don't forget to also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. I'm joining us tonight. I'm gonna which name should I use? I call him Mr. Guy, first name Lectern, but his name's Adam Johnson.
Hey, thanks for having me on. You might know me from such acts as the worst day in history since 9/11, comparable even really. I'm the artist formerly known as Via Getty. I am.
Oh, that's right, you're Via Getty.
Exactly.
That was amazing. So for those that don't know, when this gentleman was taken, a photo was taken of him via Getty. Getty is a photography, like a photo distribution company. And what was it? Someone thought that it means from Getty. They thought your name was Via Getty.
Yes, this is the intelligence on Twitter 1.0 that was allowed to circulate and spread these things.
Right on. Well, since then you've been on a bunch of podcasts. I heard you've given out little lecterns to people.
I have.
You are, of course, the guy that everyone knows, carrying the lectern and waving. And we've had you on before, so it's great to have you back. We got a lot to talk about, and especially considering this manhunt. So it'll be interesting to hear about the finer details of what goes into these January 6 cases. So thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
We got Shane Cashman hanging out.
What's up? I write for Timcast.com. I write about what little distinction there is between ghosts, demons, and American politics.
Yeah, it's great. I'm Hannah Brimo. I also write for Timcast.com. I cover what I think is real news, but it's impossible to tell these days. Serge is here too.
Yes, episode 901. I'm excited to be here. Tim, let's get started when you are.
The first story from The Hill. Trump says he'd consider Tucker Carlson as running mate. Quote, I like Tucker a lot. I guess I would, Trump said during an appearance on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show this week. I think I'd say I would because he's got great common sense. You know, when they say that you guys are conservative or I'm conservative, it's not that we're conservative. We have common sense. We have to have safe borders. We want to have a wall because walls work. Carlson was fired by Fox News, blah, blah, blah. There you go. It's not a very big, a very verbose story, but there's one legitimate reason why we talk about something like this, is because no one really has a good guess as to who Trump's VP is actually going to be. And I get asked this quite a bit. I thought Kari Lake would be good, but she's running for Senate in Arizona, which makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a better use of her time, honestly. And some people are saying Vivek Ramaswamy, especially with how well he did last night. But there's one other reason why this is our lead story. I'm trying to manifest this. Like, I personally would love a Trump-Carlson ticket, because what we often say is Trump needs that, like, sane, rational, calmer person. And I think, a lot of people thought it would be DeSantis. Not DeSantis. Tucker Carlson is massive. And I think he could push Trump over the limit. There's no beating that ticket.
Did Trump say he was going to pick a woman like a few months ago?
No, there's just a rumor about it.
Okay,
all the
so
time.
I thought Tulsi was going to be on the ticket. And
No,
she
that's
said
not a
she was-
Supreme Court vote, so it doesn't have to be a woman.
And it's not. They're not. Whoa. I mean, who's Trump trying to validate? What's he trying to prove?
I know. I thought Kari was going to be it until she announced a run for Senate. And then Tulsi said she was willing to work with Trump.
Tulsi has said stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Kristi Noem has positioned herself. There's a couple different people who are vying for the spot, obviously. My thing is, if Tucker becomes the VP, that could be fun, but I want him to keep his Twitter show, right? Like, the things that we love about Tucker Carlson exist because they are outside of politics and the government. And I wouldn't want to lose that.
And it's a question of, too, like, how much money is Tucker losing by trying to be VP for Trump?
Right.
This is a big challenge. You have to really want it. Vivek, he's worth what, $600 million? So I got to be honest. I'm sure Vivek got to a certain point where he's like, I can't buy anything anymore. Like, what do I want? And he's like, well, maybe like one thing you can't buy, technically, is a high-ranking government position. Although, let's be real, there's a certain level where it's all for sale, and then there's a certain level where it's not. Like being VP or president is something you can buy a little bit of, but you really got to push the rest. And then you've got to basically sell promises to a bunch of evil people. But if you want to be an ambassador, that's a cash deal.
After the way he talked to the moderator last night, I was like, he'd be a great press secretary.
A lot of people are saying that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd want to be press secretary.
No.
I mean, the thing that I like about Vivek is that he feels like he wants to be in charge of something. And I think that's cool that he wants to sort of contribute in that way. I mean, Vivek's not my choice president, although I admire him a lot. He's great. I would want him to be stronger on restricting legal immigration. I've said that a million times. Everyone's bored of this comment. But it is fun to see him out there, right? He is shaking up politics the way that I think the same way we feel a Tucker Carlson vice presidency would shake up this established thing. We're sort of like, let's harken back to Mike Pence. And this is not to be directly mean to him, but he just sort of faded into the background. And we were like, yes, that one white evangelical from the Midwest, he wasn't anything until the end when he was a big problem.
Right.
And I think we would expect more from a Carlson vice presidency.
Well, I do think, considering we're in a wacky simulation that doesn't seem to make sense at all, you're going to have to think crazier in terms of VP pick. Right?
Kanye West. Just go for it.
That was floated around a year ago.
Just do it.
Yeah, it was.
It
Trump,
was.
Trump West was floated around.
Kanye on Truth Social, I think, wrote a thing saying, I will let Trump be my VP.
That's right.
And I'm sure Trump was like, thank you so much. But no.
Very gracious of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is that we are seeing people who are at the front. Like, in some ways, I do think running for president for a lot of people is just to raise your national profile. So realistically, the people who are creating the short list of potential VP candidates are looking beyond the people who are appearing on the debate stage. I mean, Biden picked off the debate stage. Kamala dropped out. Then she got her facelift. It was obvious she was going to be VP. These are historical facts. Why are you laughing at me? But, with a lot of presidents in the past, who had heard of Sarah Palin really before she got tapped to be VP? There are people that we're not aware of, and I wouldn't be surprised if Trump's team is expanding beyond people who hold government positions.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, who's like the goal of the VP is to capture the demographic that the candidate doesn't capture. And so I think this is what who was saying this? Was it Robbie? Maybe Robbie Starbuck? I'm not sure. They said what demographic does Vivek capture?
That's
He's basically got Trump voters already. This is the funny thing. He says all the perfect things that every Trump voter wants to hear, and they're going to smile as they vote for Trump and say, "Oh, hey Vivek," and they're going to hit Trump.
Exactly.
So he's got it. Like, even if he was going to be the VP, is he gaining anything for that ticket?
Right. That was the argument with Mike Pence, that he gave Trump evangelical voters in the Midwest. He locked that down. But I don't know if that's the case. I think that's why people there's this ongoing thing that it'll definitely be a woman, because, it was like suburban women are the ones who pulled away from Trump the most. So theoretically, if you put a lady in the VP office, that will maybe win them back. I don't think that's actually true. I just think that's like a very serious
because then
stretch.
who's it going to be? Like Kristi Noem's a maybe, but they're going to push Nikki Haley.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
But I think
she has
their
a history
relations-
with Trump already.
Right. She worked in the Trump administration.
She absolutely did.
I think their
so-
relationship's too contentious. I don't think he would take Nikki Haley.
Yeah, but look at the GOP debates in 2016, and you know what I mean? Like, it was contentious, and then everyone got past it. This always happens.
Kamala called, Biden a racist.
Yeah, right. And then she's like, "No, we
That's
go
just
work
politics.
for him."
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I think there's a lot of women who are disaffected liberals who like RFK, and that maybe there's an RFK Trump thing happening down the ticket is perhaps.
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I also think that we look down to like attorney general levels, like Chris Kobach from Kansas. Like there are other people who have interesting points. I mean, the thing that rallied Trump voters, in my opinion, back in 2016 really was the wall and immigration. That set him in a lot of ways. He was already different from a lot of candidates. But when he said, I'm going to build the wall, that was something a lot of people rallied around. So to pick someone, female, male, whatever, who is taking a strong stance on immigration would in some ways reignite the base. And we know that the immigration crisis at the border is something that is starting to be a conversation in more moderate and left-leaning spheres. Progressives will probably never vote for anyone who would build a wall, but there are other people who are feeling the burdens that might come
Eric
around.
Adams wants a wall.
I'm feeling worried it's going to be Nikki Haley as VP, because people have floated that before, and everyone in the room just shook their head.
Nikki Haley is John McCain's skeleton in a wig. Like, we can't have her anywhere near the White House. And that performance last night was terrible. I can't see her.
Not according to the New York Times.
Well, they see
And the New York Times definitely knows how Republican votes.
Two
Yep.
movies, one screen. I mean, they see a
right
totally different
now.
world.
One of the other big stories we got is CNN, New York Times, AP, and Reuters journalists embedded with Hamas going to the attack on Israel. So it's like they knew, but right now, a bunch of media workers are protesting the New York Times because they're not favorable to. They say Palestine, but we know what they mean by that. So that just helps you understand the kind of people who work for the New York Times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I said this morning, Nikki Haley was so excited to go to war that she premature bombed on stage last night.
That's a good one.
I just can't get over her heel tweet being like, I wear them.
What does
for
that mean?
It doesn't make any sense. It's so annoying.
She said, I
threatening-
wear heels for ammunition. What does
Her
that mean?
heels are ammunition.
She's giving women a bad name everywhere. It makes you never want to wear heels again, be associated with that comment.
Yeah.
Pelosi said she would use her heels to stab the rioters. She had an interview where she talked about that. She would have taken off her heels and stabbed people with
That's what
them.
Nikki was referencing.
Probably.
Is that what she's claiming? She said, I wear heels, but they're not for fashion. They're for ammunition.
But then I saw that video of like a reporter throwing a shoe at Bush.
Oh,
So I was like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I remember when that happened. The shoe throw. Those are the days.
Those were the days.
Wasn't it two
We're
shoes?
so old.
It was,
I think it was two. And then you see like Secret Service busting into the back like 5 minutes late, to be honest. Like it was not their best moment.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what she meant. Maybe she was just preparing to throw her shoes across at Vivek. She was pretty angry at him.
Bush can dodge shoes and questions about why he went to war for 20 years.
Yeah.
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 And the left has accepted him back into like the good graces.
Yeah, he threw the opening
left.
pitch recently.
Yeah. Kimmel had him on like a year or two to talk about his paintings.
Oh, this is the thing. So I went to Southern Massachusetts University in Dallas, and his presidential library is on that campus. And I had a liberal professor tell me at one point, she's like, nowhere in America is he more popular than at this campus, because he would come to like our basketball games. We'd chant USA, and like it's not that we like his politics, but it's like this is kind of hilarious. We have a president who just sits in all of he like would randomly show up in class.
Wow.
I do need to point out, though, when Vivek said Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, the moderator cut him off, but he does say, and we've got two of them on stage tonight.
Yeah.
That actually sliced the joke. So everyone immediately, like I tweeted, I was like, wow, he called Nikki Haley Dick Cheney. And some people were like, I think he's talking about Ron. And then I played the clip back, and he literally says, and we have two of them. He was talking about both of them, but the moderator cut him off.
The Bootgate thing to me is so silly. Like, we're a bunch of grown men talking about other men's feet. Like, is this politics now? This is the important thing?
I think it
we deal
matters.
with? I've heard the argument about, integrity and honesty, and you should be honest about yourself. And if you have to wear, lifts, if it was some type of decision made by your team to make you appear taller than you said yes to it, well, maybe you shouldn't have said yes to that.
I think it's because you can't take a joke. I don't care how tall you are. It's just like that him or the team can't
It
take a
shows
joke.
insecurity.
And it also shows who he would staff himself with, right? Like, again, I thought DeSantis would have been a good VP pick. I am very loath to short anyone when potentially we have a long time. It's going to take decades to turn America around, in my opinion. But,
Yes.
With all of everything that's happened in Bootgate, it just makes it seem like he is around people who do not feel confident with doing. And so in response, they're on an attack mode. And I think that's what makes Trump in comparison even more attractive to voters, because through everything, he is ultimately the center of the room, this overconfident, this brash guy. He's not the most suave. He's not the most professional always, but he acts from a place of confidence. And I think that's what Americans really crave right now in leadership.
Let's jump to this next story. This was big news that broke after the debate. Timcast with the scoop. Ronna McDaniel overheard trashing Vivek Ramaswamy in debate audience, saying he won't get a cent from us. He's an a-hole. Total a-hole, McDaniel said. A source who was sitting near McDaniel told Timcast News that she was not attempting to keep her voice lowered. Apparently, tons of people heard this, and she called him an a-hole and declared the party would not be giving him a cent. He's an a-hole, total a-hole. He's desperate because he's doing bad in the polls. He won't be getting a cent from us. She was in complete meltdown over Vivek, the source said. This was in the middle of the audience with an earshot of at least 50 people. So apparently, after the debate, Vivek apparently was talking to her at the edge of the stage. Now we have this from the New York Post. Ronna McDaniel claps back at Vivek Ramaswamy. He's at 4% and needs a headline. This is in line with exactly what the Timcast News source said that she was saying in the audience. And she went on to say something like, let me see if they have it in this story, because Vivek struck back. Here we go. She says, I know that Vivek is kind of newer to the party. He voted for Obama, so he may not know that. Ramaswamy claimed he did not vote in any presidential election between 2008 and 2016, voting for Libertarian Michael Badnarik in 2004 and former President Trump in 2020. So she's just losing it and outright lying now about Vivek. I got to tell you, I think I know what Ronna McDaniel and the GOP establishment is doing. What do we keep hearing from DeSantis people? Oh, it's Trump's fault that we're losing all these elections. It's Trump's fault. Oh, the Trump candidates are losing. They are intentionally sabotaging Republicans, and we hear it nonstop. We just had J.R. Majewski on talking about how he gets basically cut off, and they sabotage him. They're doing it so they can say, see, Trump's bad for the party. Give us back the power. Let us be in control and shut your mouths.
I saw it firsthand how antiquated the GOP is at the debate in California. You know, the Nikki Haley's, the DeSantis, they all walk off the stage. No one really cares when they walk into the press room. You know, they get the Hannity treatment and they go away. Carrie Lake and Vivek were the people that the real press swarmed, and they were the center of attention, and Newsom, which was an issue because Hannity loved being around Newsom so much, which is bizarre. But everyone else, no one cared. You know, Chris Christie doesn't even go to the press room. You know, he's literally no one cares.
Ronna McDaniel is like the Kathleen Kennedy for the GOP. She just keeps losing for us. And if we look at how, if I get this wrong, correct me, but even during the 2022 midterms, we saw that McCarthy was not supporting America First candidates.
Right.
We saw
He's
funding
sabotaging
going.
them.
Yes, we saw funding going actually against those candidates. And this is the game they're playing for a long time, because you have someone that comes in that is anti-establishment. You know, it's the only reason I voted for Trump in 2020. I didn't vote in 2016 for him. I didn't vote at all. But you see these things happen. You're like, man, maybe there actually is a voice pushing forward, and we actually can have meaningful change.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I mean, if her smear to him is that he voted for Obama, you know, I believe him. I believe he didn't. But if he did and now he's running for president, that's a huge change. And I think it would be interesting to talk to someone and say, how did you come from either not voting or voting for Obama to wanting to really be a part of a very serious America First movement? It's sort of a missed opportunity on her part where she's saying, you're threatening my power, and she can't see what's actually good for the party.
They're elitist. They're upholding the uniparty, and they hate outsiders like Trump, Vivek, Carrie Lake. So,
she's saying he's not going to get a cent from us. I mean, Vivek has a lot of money. I'm sure he doesn't want to spend it all on his campaign. I'm sure donors are good and things like that. But he doesn't actually need it.
Exactly. And this is how you get independence within the party. Vivek does not need to bend the knee to the corporate lobbying interests. And that's why he's able to say things that has us all riled up and all excited. Because he's like, I don't need your money. Screw off. You suck. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to give you any money. He's like, I got more money than you do.
Right. Exactly. I have a deep concern for these people. Let's just say Trump's not in office, we're with someone who doesn't have Trump money or Vivek money. Do you think they're going to come after them any less than the way they came after these two people who can actually afford their court fees? No, it's going to be the same tactics moving forward. We are in this now. They will attack anyone who comes in, anyone.
And make the taxpayers pay for it.
Yes.
People need to understand Ronna McDaniel likes the Democrats more than she likes Vivek, more than she likes you. She will absolutely shake the hand and smile, shake the hand of like Gavin Newsom and smile and everything while calling Vivek an a-hole. The establishment Republican Party sabotaged Republicans, helping Democrats win because they did not want to lose power in the party establishment.
Yes.
Exactly.
Which is the opposite of America first.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? Look, Patrick Bet David put out a poll and said, who do you think, won or whatever? And Vivek, 80, 90%, I think it was like 91, 92%. And then you look at like the New York Times and everything, and they're like, oh, he did the worst. The machine hates Vivek. But you know what? Vivek is effectively the right-leaning leader of the millennial generation. And I don't see any other way to phrase this. He is running for president. He is 38 years old. Imagine where he's going to be in 10 or 15 years. He is going to be one of the most prominent personalities speaking to the more centrist to conservative factions within the millennial generation and to a great extent Gen Z. But when we hear the things that he's saying, it very much resonates with many of us. It's like a wide age range. Maybe you could even say the key demo. Because Nikki Haley's not talking to anybody. Who's she talking to? Ron DeSantis a little bit, but he's still trying to capture that old neocon energy. Vivek's the only one who it seems like is saying, you'll see me in 4 years.
Right. Vivek also is the only one who really speaks like a human being on that stage. It sounds like he's done podcasts, like, RFK as well. Tucker, obviously, these people can talk with depth for a long amount of time, and not
he's
just in
extremely charismatic.
Oh yeah,
and you can't manufacture that. I mean, that's just the way it is. I think one of the best parts about Vivek is that he is so young and full of energy. I mean, I just fundamentally believe that he is capable of doing a lot, and that's good for the party. The fact that they will not embrace him, number one, tells us that he's probably good. I mean, If Ron McDaniel doesn't like them, that is a reason to maybe research them and be interested a little bit more. But he's going to last. Like if, he doesn't get what he wants out of this election, I'm sure he will do something else. And that's what I think young Republicans or young conservative leaning people, even independents, need to see, that it's not just fall in line or stop. It's keep going no matter what.
Yeah. We're taking it over.
I do think Gen Z will probably wake up in the next 5 to 10 years because they're still very young. I don't blame them for being young. They're just young. But as they continue to live life and they don't have an opportunity to buy a home, they're paying $800 for buying a car because interest rates are also high on those as well. They're going to realize what we're voting for is not working. They will see the effects of their decisions, but it's going to take some time. And Vivek will be there 4 years from now to say, hey, are we ready now? But I've said this so many times. I don't think people are ready yet. I think there will have to be a measure of suffering that will have to continue.
Yep.
And it's sad.
However, I agree with you. I will say the only thing that matters to me is that we win culturally. Yes. Because for too long, people on the right, conservatives, have thought, we got to win the votes. We got to win the votes. And Democrats have been saying, get them when they're kids. It's like the cigarette companies. Get them while they're young. Get them to smoke early. And so this is the general idea. My concern right now, I look to what the Daily Wire is doing with Bentke, and I'm like, that's huge. That's huge. Give families an opportunity to give their kids something that's not woke garbage. And then what we're talking about doing is we put out a documentary, Infringed, with Lawrence Southern. We put out Game of Money with Ben Stewart. We're making way more, and the goal there is, what are we going to do? Are we going to take the money that we make from running this, like doing this show and doing these other shows, and then try and campaign to win elections? That to me is nuts.
Yeah.
But we put out these documentaries, we keep pushing them, and we create a library of entertaining content. We make music. We're working on the skate show, the Boonies. We got pro skateboarders coming down. We want to own this space. So shout out to Richie Jackson, pro skateboarder. He took a picture. Oh man, I love this. I wake up in the morning, I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm scrolling through Instagram because that's what we do. And I see Shredder News, it's a skateboarding news outlet. And sure enough, there's the picture that Richie posted the other day with Lauren Southern, pro skateboarder, taking a picture with Lauren Southern, holding fake guns, they're toys, and it's and with the infringed logo. And I think he just did it because I thought it was funny. And it created a quote unquote backlash in the skate culture. And I'm like, this means that these teenagers, they're like, Richie's an amazing dude, and he's like a superstar. You know, he's this very unique
Happy
skater.
birthday too, by the way.
Happy birthday
Richie
to
Jackson.
Richie. Yep.
And there are people who go up to him and they're like, dude, you're my favorite skater. They're so excited to meet him. And they see that he's fearless and he's willing to support things that he agrees with. He's not scared of what these activists say to him. That's what we want to build. And so I can look to Vivek and I can cheer him on. I can look to all the voting stuff, but I'm like, let me tell you exactly what our plan is, and I'll simplify it in this way. A story some of you may have heard me say, or a general idea. Pro athlete says, I'm too scared to speak up about males competing against females because I'll lose my sponsors. Then I say, okay, our company makes enough money to sponsor you. We'll sponsor you. Will you speak up now? And they'll go, oh, okay, great. Then the other company will say, hey, if you post those Instagram things arguing about politics, we're going to drop you as a sponsor. And then that athlete can say, however much money you think you'd lose from me posting this image, you're going to lose tenfold when I include you in my complaint. I make more than enough money with my other sponsors. I don't need you anymore. So I've been telling pro skateboard companies this, and they're salivating. Why? Many of these guys in pro skateboarding hate wokeness. They're rebels. They want to push security guards to do stupid garbage. I tell them not to do that, by the way. And they're walking on eggshells, but they're scared they'll get attacked. And I said, don't worry. We're going to flood the zone. We're going to build media, and we're going to be the tip of the spear on this one. And then once we pave the way, you can say, don't look at me, but the money will be there. That's the point of building culture. Then the young people who are growing up are going to see fearless, freedom, punk rock, etc. We can say what we want. You can't shut us up. And that's how we push back on the woke garbage.
I don't think you're creating culture. You're creating counterculture then. That's what you're producing. And to Hannah's point, it's not going to take 4 years, not an election. It's a generation. Yep. When these Gen Zers have kids, the ones they don't abort, right? Their kids aren't going to want to follow what their parents are doing. Kids want to have counter thoughts to their parents' thoughts.
You can't immediately assume that Gen Z is leftist or liberal. I just saw a poll today that Gen Z, out of I think all generations, has the more males who reject the identifying as feminists. So let me rephrase it. There was a chart saying like Gen Z, Millennial, X, and Boomers. And Gen Z males are the least likely to claim they're feminists. So it's like, and the females are the most likely, which is
they're angry
weird.
At females because they're not getting laid, because the top 5% that are attractive are the ones getting all the swipes on Twinder. That's what's going on. And they're just mad at females and they're rejecting it.
I think the youngest generation is used to being divided, and I think they will not stay that way as they become older, right? As they age into their 20s, 30s, things will change. And right now we're seeing a reckoning. They are now turning to the people who, led them here, right? When we see everything that's going on with Israel and Palestine and Hamas, they are saying, we believe one thing, but the establishment believes another thing. Do we even belong here anymore? I think a lot of them will shift more independent. I don't think it'll be a perfect, just they all march right over and register as Republicans, but I think generally they are used to being divided, and so therefore they won't mind being unaffiliated. And
I got to stop you there. Yeah, I think you're completely wrong. They don't hate women. They aren't mad they're not getting laid. They're angry that feminism has created a world in which women are going on OnlyFans and not seeking relationships. And these are guys, many of these men are just like, look, I just want to have like a wife and have a family. And there are many women saying the exact same thing. But women are feeling pressured like they have to go and work. And men are struggling to compete in this hyper-sexualized hookup culture marketplace. So you're getting young guys who are just like, this is F. This does not work. Women, of course, I think the reason why Gen Z females are the most likely to say they're feminists, they have to. It's peer pressure. It's social pressure. Women are more susceptible to social pressure than men are. So the guys are just like, get out of here with that stuff. I can't stand it. And what do they want? Guys probably just want to get married. I mean, look, there are many guys who just want to get laid. That's true. But I think the average guy just wants to get married.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think there is intense social pressure. I mean, I felt this way when I was, in public high school doing whatever, and they were like, well, if you're a woman, you have to be a feminist. You have to be a feminist. You have to be a feminist. And, every generation that is surveyable right now, this is a Pew Research study, the majority of all age groups identify as feminists, but yet women are unhappy and hopeless. So we know, there's a reason that Jezebel shuttered today, right? Like the feminist publication couldn't survive, yet we have Evie Magazine on the rise. There is a desire that
explain Evie.
So Evie is, I just know it as an alternative women's magazine. They particularly pay attention to more traditional values, and they promote femininity over feminism. And I love the work that they do. And I think that they are, one of the reasons I got into them is that they were just interested in, classical beauty. They're not trying to make you cut all your hair off and dress ambiguously. They're just saying you should like being a woman, and that's cool. And I think there are lots of young women who are looking for that. And the thing is, women skew towards wanting, emotional and social acceptance, and that can be a strength. I don't mean to downplay it at all, but that means if all the women around you say I'm a feminist and men are bad, then you are likely to also think maybe that's the way. And we have new outlets coming out that are offering them an alternative. So even though the majority of young women today, Gen Z, may say they're feminists right now, I wonder if that will change. And you'll get the stories that are like, I regret identifying as feminist. My mom raised me, my intense feminist mother raised me, and she was wrong. I love her, but this was not the right path, because ultimately the genders aren't supposed to be enemies. They're supposed to be partners.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's going to be too late, though. A lot of these girls who are OnlyFans, who are doing these things, it's going to be too late for them. Men don't want that. Men do not want that.
It's crazy. Every day we see more and more stories about women being like, I quit my job and I did OnlyFans, and wow, I made so much money. And it's just like, wow, that's poison. Absolute poison. But this is what modern leftists and feminism promotes, the sex positive culture. And it is really fascinating that what are we getting? Women's sports are slowly, males are competing in women's sports. And women are quitting their careers, like as doctors, nurses, police officers, as professional fighters, to do porn.
They're the most sexually objectified they have ever been. And this is what feminism is saying, good, this is what we wanted. Unless a man does it, then it's bad, except also who's paying for your OnlyFans.
Yep.
Men are clicking, men are paying.
That's right.
I know a lot of women who, adapted those feminist qualities throughout high school, never got married, and now they're my age. I'm 38, and they still act like they're in high school, or college. So it's a lot
That's
of
all
partying.
millennials, dude.
Yeah.
This is what I've been saying about millennials. Why I loathe the millennial generation. They have this mentality that you can't be a boss. This is communism, okay? And this is a component of communism. And I think it comes from college. I think it comes from it's not at its root college. It's what college has become. You've got a kid. He grows up from 0 to 5, does nothing. At 5 years old, he begins kindergarten. Maybe there's preschool there and daycare and stuff, and little bits here and there, but mostly nothing. 5 years old to 13, you've got grade school. They're told what to do. Then high school. They're told what to do. Then college. They're told what to do. They graduate at 22 and they say, what should I do now? The government comes around and says, we'll tell you what to do. This is why I think we don't see very many millennial politicians. It's why we don't see, it's why you get all these millennials complaining about boomers have all the wealth, they're hoarding the wealth. And I'm like, it's because millennials aren't doing anything. And I think the reason is millennials have this mental block where they think they're not good enough and someone else is in charge. So this is, and that's exemplified by looking at a presidential election with a bunch of octogenarians or septuagenarians. Why is everybody so old? No, don't get me wrong. Ron DeSantis is up there. Okay. Vivek, of course, is up there, but it's few and far between. And again, boomers control the wealth. Why? Millennials keep saying the boomer's my boss. Instead of saying, I'm going to be my own boss and start a business. Then they go, but it's so hard to get money. It's so hard to do. Ask any of these people how they started their business. They started from nothing. Look at the business we're building here. We started with nothing, quite literally. Like, I got a job. I saved up money. I got a better job. I saved up money. And then I started my independent business practice and slowly built up to this point. There's no secret. It's sacrifice, grind through the mud and the dirt, work your fingers to the bone and build it up.
I think you also have to be willing to accept responsibility, though. And I think that's what a lot of millennials don't want. They have this desire to stay childish in so many ways. And that keeps them from, all good things take a little bit of risk, right? So if you really want to be run your own business, you have to accept that will come with some responsibility. You may have to be, responsible for providing your own health insurance or whatever it is, or you don't get that, and they would ultimately rather have someone to blame.
I think if I'm watching someone play a video game and they're bad at it, I get really frustrated. And I'm just like, give me the controller? Like, dude, you're not jumping right. Let me do it. And then I'll be like,
You can
watch.
never watch me play a video game.
No, I can't. I'm like, leave. I'll play. I'll do my thing. I struggle with watching other people try to solve problems that I feel like I could solve faster and better. And call me arrogant, call me cocky, call me whatever you want. That is the mentality that leads me to look my 40-year-old boss in the eye when I'm 16 and say, you're a moron. I could do your job better than you. I quit. And I leave. I'm not kidding. When I was 16, I was working at a fast food restaurant, and I guarantee you I could have done a better job than the manager they hired. Why? Because I had experience doing managerial work at my family's cafe when I was 12. So I'm like, I saw my mom do all this stuff. She taught me some of it. Then I see a guy who gets hired, has zero experience, but, he was an assistant manager, at a different shop. So when he comes in here, he doesn't understand how anything works. Everything's kind of getting jammed up. Everything's bad, like scheduling is bad. And I'm like, bro, I've been here longer than you. I know how this works better than you. They hired you for arbitrary reasons. So I said, I ain't doing this. I'm out. I'm going to do my own thing. What do? I've done a bunch of things in my life to make money. One day I'm like, I need to pay my rent. So I took my guitar and I went down and I played in the subway in Chicago. And then I got yelled at and said, you need a permit. So I went downtown, paid the $5, got the permit, went back, got into a fight with some guy who was dancing with a football because he's like, this is my spot. And I'm like, okay. And I would make probably $15 an hour just playing guitar. I'd play for 2 or 3 hours, top 40s. I'd make like $45 and then I'd go put it in the bank and then I'd be done. I'm like, that was so much fun. I'm just jamming, playing the guitar. Then I figured something out. I went to Wrigley, baseball field, right as a game was ending. I made $200 in 1 hour because everybody's wasted. And I was like, wow, why would I get a job? And all of my friends were like, I'm broke. I need a job. And I'm like, look, man, I'll be honest. I've had jobs, right? I went and worked at a bar. It was hard to find jobs. I worked at the airport for a couple of years. And then it was actually after the airport, I decided I'm going to go just play guitar on the street and make money. And then eventually I got bored and worked for nonprofits and stuff like that. But ultimately, it always comes down to what I see today is people who say it's either the get out of my way and let me do it, or I ain't touching that. That's your problem.
I think you're explaining a solution-oriented mindset, right? A lot of kids don't learn how to fail because we just do it for them. And a lot of millennials, they weren't allowed to fail. They got all their trophies, they were just pushed through grades, and they never had to figure out how to find a solution to get better at something.
Right.
My kids, I love when they fail. It is the most exciting thing that I see from them because they only get to talk about finding solutions.
Yeah.
Well, how did you fail at this thing? What thing did you do wrong? Well, what could you try differently next time? And my kids, they find solutions. They fail a couple of times and they get better at it.
I wish that wasn't rare, but I do the same with my kids, and you got to let them fail. That's the big lesson. I think the system we're in infantilizes young men and women, and so they're risk averse, like you were saying earlier. And you can see that even in little things.
And lazy.
And super lazy. But like even little things, like they're afraid to pick up the phone, because they're afraid of even answering and talking to a real person. That's
dude,
crazy.
I recorded a segment today, which is coming out tomorrow on my Timcast News channel, of this woke woman getting pulled over for a DUI. She's driving the wrong way down the road. She smells like alcohol. She gets pulled over and she admits to having several drinks. And the cop is so nice. And she's like, I'm non-binary. And he's like, okay, man, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll try my best. And then he's like, can you walk in a straight line for me? And she's like, no, because I have mental health issues and like generational trauma and then when he finally decides, there's one point where he's like, follow my finger. No, ma'am, follow my finger. I'm trying, but you're trying to intimidate me. And he's like, I don't know how I'm doing that. Then when he finally decides to arrest her, she's like, dude, you're being a white man. And this is what's going on in their brains. She was driving the wrong way down the road into oncoming traffic after having several drinks. I don't want to say she's drunk. I don't know. She had 3 drinks, maybe. And so she gets pulled over for it. Get out of the car. And she's like, I don't want to get out of my car. And he goes, we're past that now. Out of the car. Step out. And she's like, okay. And then she said, you're being a white man. Think about the mental perspective she must have on driving drunk the wrong way down a road, and it's the fault of the officer for being a white man.
Did she go to Evergreen College? where Brett Weinstein was. Remember, like they were yelling at the
Yep.
guy for being like, the hand movements are aggressive. Put them down.
But they were lying about that
Yeah.
because after he stopped, they all laughed at him.
Oh yeah, no, they were using that
Yep.
against him for sure.
Did
But
he
this lady
identify
believed
himself
it.
as a white male? How did she know?
That's right.
No, she just used it like a slur, which is also telling, right?
One of-
What if she had said like, "Oh, you're acting like a Korean man"? Like,
Right.
would that mean something different? No,
One
it's
of the-
only to insult him as a white man.
One of the funniest things is she goes, I have really bad social anxiety. And then he goes, you and me both. And then she goes, okay. Like, your stupid lie and excuse and victimization didn't work on this guy.
Yep.
She tried every card in the book and then she got arrested. But this is the generation that gets created. It is not all millennials, obviously. I'm a millennial. I don't know. How old are you?
38.
We're all millennials. Look at us sitting here. Oh, those dang millennials. They ruined millennialism. They ruined the generation. Yeah.
I had a grandfather. I think it made a big difference.
Yeah.
I think grandfathers are like they're the gatekeepers of the old ways. And most of our generation can't even find their fathers.
Totally.
That's so sad.
I would
Did you
always
spend a lot of
tell-
time with your grandfather? Sorry.
I was just
Did
to say.
actually. He's my hero. This man, couple of motorcycle accidents. Last one, he rolled 15 times. He had multiple skin graft surgery, eye hanging out of his face. They told him, you have brain damage. You're never going to exist the way you did. This man went back to school and got a PhD. And he got several little letters, a certification on his name, spent the rest of his life helping drug addicts, alcoholics. This man is my hero.
My grandpa once, I may have told the story. I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when I was staying with him when I was 18. And he was going to give me a ride somewhere. And then he's like, come on, let's get out of here. And then I looked down at the sandwich. And I was like, throw it away. He's like, what's wrong with it? And I was like, it's got mold on it. He walks over, grabs it, shoves it in his mouth. And he goes, do you have any idea what we ate during the Depression? Let's go. That's my grandpa.
Exactly.
Thanks,
I was going to say, like, it's so important to talk to the older people in your life. And if you have a grandfather, grandma, like I interviewed mine for hours before he passed away, for years. I have multiple hours of interviews with him because I could learn about so much time before you hear war. He was a cop in New York City in the 70s when it was all on fire. Then he was a hearse driver. So kind of like ran the gamut of like death, war, life, marriage and all these things. And a lot of people don't have that access to someone who's older.
Well, and also you have to foster family relationships, right? Like my parents were older when they had kids anyways, but also my parents were immigrants to the U.S., so we didn't see our grandparents that often. And I think about now, technology is so advanced where like your kids' grandparents could call them on the phone, they could have access, and it's like we don't appreciate what we have in that connection because we're so busy saying the older generation did this. And I'm here to blame the boomers for all kinds of stuff too, but also they were your parents. You should get to know them. And I think part of growing up is accepting that your parents are humans and have faults and have failed, and so many people aren't ready to do that even though they are at an age where they could become parents.
And learning from their mistakes, kind of like how you watch your kids learn from their mistakes.
Yep.
Right? Because they got a ton of they can tell you about too.
I still have dinner with my grandma once or
that's
twice
great.
a month. Or bring all the kids over because it's important.
This is why I hate Rahm Emanuel's brother. I forget his name, but he wrote that article. I think it might have been in Time magazine.
Jim Emanuel.
Maybe. I don't know. I forget. But he wrote the thing about how old people should let themselves die, and we shouldn't have
You're right.
we should have a society without old people. And as I'm reading that article, my kid was
Communists.
downstairs, with his great grandma, learning about history the same way I did, from the same woman, from her perspective. And I was like, this is just straight up evil.
Yeah, but they don't
this.
want you to have family. I mean, the nuclear family, like the mom, dad, children relationship is really important, but the extended family is a gift into itself. And if you have a strong extended family with good values who can support each other, then you are less reliant on the government anyways, which is exactly what they don't want.
Exactly. They want to destroy the family, and it goes back to infantilizing everybody so that when you are 21, 22, the government steps in as your mommy, daddy.
There are certain countries, I think Iceland is one of them, that will give grandparents tax breaks or some kind of, income or whatever if they are going to, instead of enrolling the kid in daycare or state-sponsored school, whatever, if they stay with the grandparents, and the grandparents are the ones who take care of them while the parents are working or doing whatever. That means that, like, instead of a stranger, your parents, who potentially you have a good relationship with, would be spending time with your children in an environment that tends to your child's specific needs because they love and care about them. Like, that's a great system.
Now, here's the challenge. We all recognize this issue because we were raised well. And there are other people who don't care at all because they were not. You can't go to one of these millennials and be like, listen, it's very important and here's why, because they're going to say, you're nuts, I don't care, where's the sex party at? And then when they're oh man, I am not looking forward to aging millennials, right? One of the debate questions about raising the age of retirement and Social Security, it is going to be wild when you have a whole bunch of single, isolated, childless individuals like just demanding the government pay their bills for them. What is the marketplace going to look like?
The government's going to give you 3D printed suicide pods.
I think, you know, I would not be surprised
Justin Trudeau just got an erection after hearing that.
That's why MAID is emerging most likely.
Seriously.
I would not be surprised if the younger generations forcefully enact some kind of homing for aging millennials. And I'll tell you why. Right now, the market for, you know, look, millennials are in their 30s. It's like early 30s, maybe late 20s, but mostly early 30s to late 30s. These are people who can still run and jump and somersault and backflip and eat pizza. But, man, once you're getting around 37, 38, you got to cut the salt down. You got to be careful what you're eating. You got to start stretching more in these things. Imagine what it's going to be like when they're 50 and 60 and they can't do any of these things, but they're still single and childless. What will they do? We are going to have a wave of stories about a strange stench coming from an apartment building. It is not, these happen periodically. It's like neighbors noticed a strange smell and found Edna had passed away several days earlier.
Happened down the road from me in my hometown.
It is going to be nuts. And I would not be surprised if a law gets passed where it's like checkups have to be performed on anybody over the age of 65 because of how many dead bodies are being found isolated in their homes. I'll tell you what's scary. A scary thought is that you could be 25 years old, take a shower in the morning in your one-bedroom apartment, you're single, you got work, and you step out of the bathtub and you slip and you hit your head on the sink and you're dead. And no one knows. And then a week goes by and they're like, damn, at 25? Now it's rare, right? It gets increasingly more likely when you get older and you start falling and you're out of shape. It's going to be nuts when we have, it's going to be tens of millions more millennials who are single and childless in their 60s living in studios. It's going to be absolutely nuts. They're going to, and if there's no family member to put them in a home, what happens? Mass elderly homelessness of millennials. And then, so one of the things that may happen is they're going to vote for weird, crazy communist garbage. And that may start, that will absolutely extract from the younger generation. Already, Social Security is insolvent. The older generation is getting paid and the younger generation is paying for it. But we're not having kids. So population is going to decline. Then Social Security won't be maintained and millennials are going to be old and they're going to say, no, I paid, I get my fair share. And the younger generation is going to be like, we can run faster than you. We're going to send in the law enforcement to bring you to homes. And that's going to be your welfare.
What scares me also is the amount of SSRIs those depressed people are going to be taking and how many more people are going to be on these pills and how crazy they're going to get, you know, after all that depression.
This is why
not hooked up to the metaverse.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're
I was going to say,
totally
this is why
addicted.
they are trying so hard to make the Neuralink in the metaverse.
Yeah.
So then they can just strap you in the pod, sink the pod into the ground, lock it up, and then you're in the Matrix.
And it doubles as the suicide pod.
I looked at the number. I think it's up by like
turn the
30
switch,
or 40% SSRI intake across the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I think it's up 30 or 40%. It's a ridiculous number.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's really scary.
And there's not like most people who take SSRIs are just on them forever, which I don't want to be, you know, too general about. There are people who really benefit from it, but they aren't saying, have you considered your lifestyle, changing your lifestyle? Have you considered changing your diet? Have you considered, you know, exercising more? Have you thought about, you know, stop hanging out with all these people that make you miserable? Instead, it's just sort of like continue to pay for therapy and SSRIs indefinitely forever.
We just
No,
like
just
putting
give me a
Band-Aids.
pill. Why is it not working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean I can't keep living immorally?
But it won't be a pill. Eventually, it'll be a plug. I think it'll be like you know how the Apple laptop chargers work? They're magnets and it just clicks in. It doesn't actually like interlock. It just snaps. That's what it's going to be for the Neuralink. There's going to be thin copper cables that go into your, I think that's what they're doing. It goes into your like cerebellum or whatever. And you'll have like a little metal pad and you'll just take a little magnet thing and it'll stick right to it. And then
Well, Elon's looking for people right now if they want to sign up to volunteer. Because FDA has approved human trials where the robot he built will cut open your skull and thread the implant into your brain.
Yes,
and then you can go
but
for that.
Cool.
This
No,
is
thank
for
you.
this is for people who are blind, deaf, paralyzed.
Yes.
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
But the problem is we know where it goes.
Exactly.
And you're going to have some 60-year-old millennial woman being like, I just don't have any friends anymore, and I'm so lonely. And they're going to be like, would you like to be 20 again and go partying back on the north side of Chicago? Plug on in, baby, and sit in the pod, and we'll pump you full of bugs.
Right.
I would choose a different thing. I would be like the head of the DOJ and go after all the Epstein people.
All the Epstein. You choose to live in the reality where you get justice, and you're
Exactly.
locked in the pod with a smile
Everyone on the
your face.
island's getting arrested.
I
Send
think
me
that's
in.
the thing, though. We have like one of the battles for making to like reinvesting in culture and reinvigorating culture is to make it so that life outside the pod is better and worthy. Even when things are hard, it is more desirable to be there. Because I think about, if you can go into the pod, I guess you could see all your loved ones or whatever else, but they're not real. Like, you have to want the reality enough, even with the bad parts of it. And I think we have generations that are being trained to numb themselves and avoid things always, which makes the Neuralink sort of an inevitable reality because it's the ultimate numbing. It takes you out of who you are.
COVID lockdowns accelerated like the divorce between people who hate reality, like nature, right? And you saw a lot of people stay in their homes. I know people who had young kids who did not leave their home for 5 to 6 months.
Right.
And they could get their groceries delivered. They could be safe. Somehow they still got COVID in the apartments. That's another story. But like their identities meant more to them online. So their digital identities took over their physical identities, which is why metaverse is going to take over, which is why it's hilarious the other day when we were sharing that image of that person who had their avatar as the girl, but Sydney, whatever the name was, right? But in real life, it's just a trans person.
It was a guy
who's like a 50-year-old dude, right, with a ponytail.
Well, we've talked about it's the movie Surrogates. You've seen it?
No.
Yeah.
It's a world where everyone sits in a pod and they have a robot version of themselves go out and work. It's safer. And there's like this hot chick making out the guy. There's an accident that happens. And so they try and track down the owner of the surrogate, and they find a 500-pound morbidly obese man in a pod, also dead because some crazy thing happened. But the point is, they were like, oh, that hot chick you're making out with, 500-pound morbidly obese man.
That's like OnlyFans right now, and there's guys messaging women who's or the messages are coming from dudes in like wherever they're from, Idaho.
The crazy thing is people don't care. On Instagram, you have a whole bunch of AI-generated accounts, and they say they are, and it's crazy. People are commenting like, you're so beautiful. I'm like, it says AI-generated person. They don't care.
They don't care.
But there's no risk telling AI you're beautiful, right? There's no risk in doing that. It's not actually going out and having to meet a girl and say, hey, I think you're pretty and I'd love to take you to dinner.
Look, have you ever played a
No
video
risk.
game with cheat codes?
Game Genie.
It gets boring.
Yeah.
Real
So what happens is typically the way you do it is you play the game, you beat it. Once you're done, then you play with cheat codes for fun to explore the game. But after a while, you're like, I can do whatever I want whenever I want. I'm over it. I'm bored. This is what metaverse is going to be like unless people choose to enter simulated realities with rules and limits. Otherwise, they'll get bored real quick.
Which is the end goal of communism, to make people feel like they're the god. It's a false like reality of them being the god. Whereas obviously, though, that's not the case because the god becomes the government and then they destroy you. But they want to make you pretend that you're in charge and have agency.
It makes me feel like we're on the cusp of a lot of people waking up to this. I mean, I'm a girl, so I like a lot of relationship podcasts, and a lot of them, you'll have girls calling in, talking about breakups and being like, he was just really controlling. He wanted to control me. And it's like, yes, because ultimately that is the same guy who will pick to be in the Neuralink so that he can control the entire environment around him. Like, we're all headed the same direction.
We're going to jump to this story, and it's the perfect segue. As we're talking about living in a simulation and the AI, I present to you this. An urgent manhunt is underway in the New Jersey town of Helmetta for a suspect in connection to the January 6th Capitol attack. Gregory Yetman evaded arrest and fled into the woods near his home. ABC has the latest from the scene. They actually interviewed his neighbor, whose name is Stasi.
Bro. Oh, dude,
Welcome to... Okay, like really quick. The big breaking news is a J6er is currently on the run. They're using APC's dogs. They're hunting him down. But the neighbor's name is Stasi, and everyone's just kind of sitting back being like, yo, we're in a simulation, aren't we?
Even better segue from the last topic is that it's hell meta. That's the future when we're all in the metaverse. And I'm thinking that is hell,
California.
and that is meta.
Also, crazy
Wow,
that-
dude, that's crazy. It's a simulation.
This is
Hell meta.
This problem, the problem with the simulation is it's the writers of the simulation are so bad, right? Like they're on strike or something, and it's so on the nose. It's so on the nose.
Meta will be hell.
Dude, we should copyright that right now.
That's amazing. So,
That's the new sitcom we produce.
I mean, so this is the big story. I don't want to get all sci-fi and creepy and crazy with it. This is a guy who
Another ginger. Look at that.
yeah, they're coming
Do you
after
feel
him.
persecuted?
Yeah.
So
What is up with that?
apparently the story is that he had already spoken with the FBI and they cleared him. And then something happened with USA Today where they revealed more information about him. And then the feds went to go serve an arrest warrant and he ran into the woods.
Guy who did something 3 years ago is now a breaking news manhunt. This makes no sense to me.
Yo, and they're shutting schools down.
A non-violent person.
Shelter in place order.
Wow.
Well, hold on. We don't know this guy was non-violent. I don't want to say that, right?
Right.
There were people there who were absolutely violent. And I don't know if they have photos of what he was doing or whatever while he was there, but maybe he was. This guy was in the National Guard at the time of J6. So that's kind of crazy.
He brought a Humvee. Did you see that?
What, to J6?
Yeah, there's a picture of it. He must have done it.
Wow.
No, I think that's.
Do you know him from the group message? Can you text him and ask him to run through the woods here? No, I mean, I just
Well,
maybe he
so,
was violent, but at the same time, it is crazy to me that they are still arresting people in connection to January 6th in perpetuity forever and ever, the end. Like, I am skeptical that if he was such a dangerous person, that they would have let it go this long.
I'm sorry. I just got to say this. Like, there was something that happened a couple of years ago related to Trump that was so insane. Like, I'm like, we're in a simulation. Like, how could this possibly be? I can't remember exactly what happened. We talked about it on the show and everyone was laughing like, this is nuts. Now we're literally talking about how weird all of this is. And we have a J6er fleeing into the woods whose neighbor's last name is Stasi in the town of Hell Meta.
Look, this is what I'm saying about post-reality. Post-reality is the totality of events occurring both digital and physical as a simulation burns. But the simulation is not the zeros and ones type of simulation. I believe the simulation is being engineered by like corporate press and governments.
No, look, we're in the final seasons. Like, you know, the first few seasons of Simpsons were just awesome, like the first 9. And then after that, it's just been like a downward spiral of like, they're not going to let the show end.
All the good writers left.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is where we're at. And what we're getting is they have no creativity anymore. So they're like, it's a guy whose neighbor is the Stasi or something. Well, we can't do that. So her name is Stasi.
Right.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. Do that.
It's like an SNL sketch.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Or maybe they're
Meta.
exhibitionists and they just want to be seen.
I don't know, man. Like, this is crazy stuff. We say simulation, but the reality is I'm sure a lot of Christians are just like, this is God's universe. Like, you're starting to see it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's how I feel. I think we're in base reality, God's reality, and that people are engineering this false reality on top of it. Not to say that this guy running around is, but the way these things are like Helmeta or Stasi and any other thing that's been happening the past year just seems so fake. Like they're trying to make us buy into this aggressively unreal reality. Not to say this isn't happening. There's a lot of horrible things happening in the world.
It'd be funny if we're actually already in the pods eating the bugs. And they're just like playing and toying with us as we're strapped in. And we're just like, what? This is life. We're in base reality. And then pans out to base reality and we're already in the pod with tubes in our throats.
We're just extras in a Black Mirror episode and don't know it.
Yeah, that was another idea I had a while back of like, here's my argument for why we are all NPCs. When the NPCs don't know that they're NPCs, and the people who are playing the game know they're playing the game. So if you aren't aware that you're an external, you're outside of the system playing the game, then you're the NPC. Right. And we're sitting here talking, and we're basically it's Three Dog, right? That was the guy from Fallout, the radio host. So when you're playing Fallout, it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. You turn the radio on, and he's talking. Right. And that's it. That's basically, you're the player. You're playing the game, and we're the background noise to facilitate your
our voices in a wasteland. Great.
Yeah, like I would have to assume that like this is Trump's game. You know, Trump is like some 15-year-old playing the video game of like it's called like Earth,
right?
And he's that's his character, and he's playing, and he's like, you know, it's nearing the end of the game or whatever, and we're just ancillary characters.
I like to think not, but it does feel like that sometimes, for sure.
That doesn't matter if it does or doesn't, I guess. Your life is your life.
Yeah, would it change how you act?
No.
That's always my question.
It wouldn't for me. I would still act with the moral code I believe in. You know,
I do what I want.
Yeah, you go crazy.
Yeah, I do what I want. Yeah.
And you wouldn't know if you weren't doing what you want because apparently we're all in the pods anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
So does this guy have charges brought against him here?
Okay,
They're serving an arrest warrant. Is my
his last name is Yet Man. Mm-hmm. What?
This is what I'm seeing from the
They
New York
haven't caught
Times.
him yet. They haven't caught him yet, man.
Mm-hmm. The New York Times says that he was he had been interviewed by the FBI for his participation in the riot, and that he was believed to have fired a large canister of pepper spray at protesters and the police. So this guy was on no one's side.
It's just you with a haircut.
That's my
Mike.
take.
You all know each other, right?
The Ginger J6 subreddit.
What if the
So
aliens
niche.
are actually just like game moderators? And the reason they can defy physics is because their vehicles are outside of the game for the purpose of facilitating the simulation.
Right. We can't see them the way the ants aren't perceiving us.
I'm flabbergasted reading this story because it looks like it's like when a game writer has his kid write up a quest. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a guy who's working for World of Warcraft, has his 11-year-old son write up a quest for him. They'll put in the game and he'll put it in because it's funny and he can.
If when I was a professor of creative writing, let's say, and a student came to me with a script like this, I would say maybe this is like, unless it's a satire, maybe this is all too on the nose because every name is ridiculous. Hell Meta, like we're not
Stasi,
reaching that
Hell
far.
Meta.
Yet man, like come on, this is like a Vonnegut rather, you know. Maybe they're using Vonnegut's stories. I don't know. You know, I just found out recently, just a little side note on the post-reality stuff, that Vonnegut's brother invented seeding clouds.
Wow, dude.
Silver iodide seeding.
That was him. Yeah. Yeah. So,
What a fun family.
yeah, just a
Just
little
really
side
getting all
note.
kinds of stuff
For the
done.
simulation people out there.
Maybe it's like a Truman show. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
I wonder who Truman would be.
Well, maybe it's Trump, or maybe it just shifts,
Trump.
you know, from all
Maybe
of us.
Truman is in Helmeta, and that's how they're keeping him inside because they're like, "Hey, there's a manhunt. Don't go outside right now.
Yeah,
We got to
yeah.
change the sets." Really
Yeah,
quick.
but I think that
That's
we
a
got to
great
charge
theory.
our little birds. Everyone
That's
go
a
inside for
great theory.
COVID.
That's what lockdown was,
It'd be
right.
funny if Trump is like Earth is a Truman show. We're all ancillary characters that don't matter, but the aliens watch Trump all day and they're just like, they love him. I mean, who doesn't love
obsessed.
watching Trump? He's the entertainment
Yeah,
And
king.
there's several seasons in, so it's getting really off the
Right.
rails. They don't know what to do.
But there is real world data to support this theory in terms of Donald Trump's uncle having the Tesla stuff. So
Thing.
you know,
time machine.
either Trump is a time traveler or he knows the aliens.
Wait, so
you know?
is Ye just like a side story? Is it like a different? A whole
He was
other-
like
Yeah,
a fun character.
No, yeah,
arc.
another
Ye is
character arc?
Roy, right? Like,
Oh, okay.
they introduce a random character to boost the ratings, and then he's gone a season later.
True. Oh, I was thinking like all the dimensions kind of merged in the past few years, and Ye's another protagonist from another dimension.
It was like a
He's on his
crossover
own quest.
episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And him and Trump did meet up for a bit, but they're like, we're too crazy to do this
It's
together.
like Marvel
you know?
and DC kind of mixed.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would say Kanye is close to the Truman Show though, because Truman did break somewhere
Ye.
towards the end of the show.
Yeah,
and,
it's
it's Kanye.
You know what I think is funny? I was watching clips from the Truman Show because there's a meme where it's Truman is arguing with his wife, and then she's like, "What are
It's
red
hot
coffee?"
cocoa.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, who are you talking to? But that wouldn't be weird to him because she would have been doing that his whole life.
Yeah.
It would have been a normal social thing to be like, look at product. It's a great product. You'd be like, yep, that's what people do.
And we're all used to it now because of influencer culture. where
He'd
it's
be doing
like,
the same thing.
Hey, I'm just on my Instagram stories, like putting my kids to bed, and I thought I'd tell you about this thing just randomly because I'm definitely getting sponsored to do it.
I'm sorry, I got to do it. Like, as much as I love the Daily Wire guys and I think they're doing such great work, I just got to point out one thing I could never do is, because if you've watched their shows, you know exactly what they do. They'll say something like, I got to tell you, when I learned about how great Vivek Ramaswamy did at that debate, I was so happy to hear it. As happy as I was to try Spindrift, an excellent drink, and I'm just like, I know it's seamless and it's probably the better way to do an ad read, but I could never do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I feel on X these days when I see something about. For instance, it was on Scott Adams' page, and it was about the 3D printed suicide pods with an ad right below it for, let's say, a device for pleasure for women. And I was just like, that is so. And it was like a lady waving goodbye in the pod, smiling, next to this ad saying like double the pleasure. It's like, this is just a horrible dystopia.
I do gotta
The ad is not reading the room.
I gotta give a shout out to Michael Knowles. I guess he sold out of like 4 months worth of cigars.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
That's cool.
yeah, now I'm like, well, now I gotta buy. I don't smoke, but like, gotta support the parallel economy, man.
Yeah.
We've got Jeremy's soap downstairs. What is that a thing?
Is there
Oh yeah.
soap now?
Yeah, there was. I saw that.
It's like soap and deodorant, and I'm like, what? I didn't know that existed.
I was just
Yeah.
waiting for him to come out with like dark chocolate, but instead he was like, on to the next product.
Give it
Thank
time.
you.
Give it time. He'll have
See,
it.
like, there's going to be 2 realities in 50 years. There's going to be the people who live in the pods and eat the bugs. Outside, you're going to go to Jeremy's, which is like, you go inside, it's a superstore warehouse that has every product. Sign up for your Jeremy's membership, and they got everything. They got beef, they
Jeremy
got
Mart.
pork. Yeah, it's basically Costco, but it'll be called Jeremy's.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I would do ad reads for fun products, like not real ones, like ejection seats and helicopters, like a whole. Like,
Oh, what a beautiful image.
But it is interesting, this idea that like people are trying to read meaning or value. Like I think people feel so lost in everything that's happening. They're trying to find clues, like this idea that it's Helmeta. Like,
Right.
is this the sign? Are we looking for something? And I think that
Right.
is again this craving for direction in life that people just don't have.
We're gonna get serious, guys. We're gonna bring it back to the real world. 'Cause I guess crazy story out of New York. Here we go. Vigilante gunman nabbed for shooting at homeless would-be robber in New York City subway station. I want you to analyze that headline real quick.
Vigilante gunman.
Read it for me, Shane.
Vigilante gunman nabbed for shooting at homeless would-be robber in NYC subway station.
And what did you notice in that headline?
Oh, well, the would-be.
The would-be.
Yeah.
Because the story could also be homeless man throws woman in front of train.
Yeah. Yep.
Instead, it's a vigilante nabbed. I love it. They arrested the guy. I don't think it's wise to shoot in a subway. Don't get me wrong. But it is crazy that we are getting to this point. We've warned about it. A homeless guy was mugging a woman and trying to steal her stuff. This guy shouted out, fired up what he called a warning shot, but I'm not a fan of warning shots in subways. I don't think that makes sense. No. And stopped it.
Right.
The point is, obviously, don't shoot in crowded places like that because you don't know where that bolt's going to go and you don't know what damage it's going to cause. There's a lot of stuff down there. But more importantly, it's gotten to the point where people have started illegally in New York City carrying guns, and they're not criminals and they're not bad guys. They're doing it because they're scared for their safety. And now we've got the return of subway vigilantism.
Mm-hmm. You mean they're playing by the same rules as the criminals?
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I can't think of a major city that's like pro 2A that has a serious homeless population. But I mean, the obvious answer is if you had a large homeless population, but everyone in the community, including the homeless, were aware people carried guns, it would be very different.
Nashville?
Maybe, I guess.
I don't really know.
I don't know. It's hard for me to.
I want to say yes.
I feel like, because it's in Tennessee, I might think yes. I don't know what Nashville's particular laws are, but it's that
I was
sort
just
of
there.
thing.
It was pretty clean. I was there maybe like 3 months ago.
Oh, there's parts that definitely have a homeless problem, but it's not like an aggressive problem like I've seen in parts of New York City.
And if you were in,
Austin.
I mean, like all of the cities where crime is really rampant, especially with being perpetrated by homeless people. Like I think of San Francisco, you can't carry a gun in San Francisco. What are you talking about? So, in some ways, wouldn't it behoove someone in the New York State Senate to say, hey, maybe we should change the gun laws in New York so people can carry to deter crime? Instead, they'll
never
don't like the
Don't
gun
they have
carry.
a robot police officer down there now patrolling the subways?
Oh, just imagine what that's going to be like.
bet that just
A guy
gets
comes up
strapped
to
for
you.
parts, though.
Stop it. A guy comes up to you and he's like punching you in the face and trying to grab your purse. And then the robot goes, "Criminal, you are breaking the law. Please stop. Stop."
And we finally found something
Stop.
more useless than gun laws.
It's going to be funny when the robot will just go whoop whoop whoop
Right.
while this guy's mercilessly beating a woman just on
Also,
the subway
someone will
platform.
just push the robot in front of a train. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
they
afraid.
will.
I'm afraid to give them ideas, but maybe like a door opens with an arm to apprehend and then put them inside.
He
the
like
big
shoots
robot.
tasers and hopefully hits the right
'Cause it's
person.
a big robot. It's like a
is
candy.
big.
It's like a giant candy corn.
And it's like
thing on
glass, so you can
conveyor
see
belt.
who's
like
strapped in
fires
there.
a bag and then seals them in and like
Yeah, we should stop giving them ideas though, for sure, because they will do that.
But it's interesting they won't send police down there. They'll just send the robot.
Here's what I
Right.
love. I love the combination of future automated dystopia along with the economic collapse dystopia because it results in homeless people destroying robots in San Francisco.
Yes.
They're just flipping the machines over and
Yeah.
smashing them and stealing food out of them.
Kicking the robot dog. Yeah.
That's kind of a cool future.
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
don't know. What am I supposed to say about this? They've got robots driving around San Francisco, San Fran, delivering food, and
Those are
people
getting treated terribly.
just flip them over and then steal the food and leave. And there's like, what are they going to do about it? There's no humans.
This is the natural evolution of battle bots.
Yeah, it
right.
is.
This thing
Eventually-
in the subway does look like a battle bot, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to work on the Transformer suit then, and like a person should be inside it.
Again,
and all
stop
geared
giving
up.
them ideas, please.
I want to go
like
straight to
AI.
RoboCop where they had the one
Yeah.
that malfunctioned.
We're talking about RoboCop and AI and
I
Iron
think-
Man suits. And
I think what we should be really scared about is the Amazon stores where
Yeah,
you
true.
can walk in and you
Amazon
don't need
Go.
you just grab whatever you want and walk out and it automatically charges you. That is the private sector basis for what will become horrifying robo law enforcement.
yeah.
You think it's bad
Neo-feudalism.
now? It's like, oh, who cares? You walk in, grab your milk, bread, and eggs, and walk out. It's convenient. What do you think it's going to be like when those things are everywhere you go? Everywhere. You jaywalk, you get a ticket in the mail.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. And also the way you started this by looking at the title, like the way they bend reality is what's terrifying to me, right? Like they could have written this headline so many different
The
ways,
framing, you
you know, and like that does frame people's perception clearly. Like the other day when the guy was killed in California at the protest, you know, he died in the street.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the Jewish
And then
man?
he was a dead guy, whatever. They made it sound like he fell or whatever.
Elderly man falls and hits head, dies.
Right. They
Yep.
frame these realities that are so crazy. This
Yeah.
is that, right? And then people, you know, a lot of people don't have the time we talk about it all the time, right? A lot of people just read the post, but this is the same.
Here's a headline for you. Vigilante gunman who saves woman's life from attempted robbery arrested for firing gun in
No,
subway.
it should just be man arrested after defending self in subway from.
No, he didn't defend
homeless
himself.
Defending
was rescuing.
like someone else. I
Yeah.
mean, it,
Yeah,
this,
but
preventing.
this
I
is
have no-
Daniel
I have-
Penny again.
I have
except
no
there's a gun
problem.
this time.
I have no problem with the headline saying he fired a gun in the subway. You should not do that.
That's a problem. For
Right.
sure. For sure.
I don't mind that they identify him as someone who shot a gun. My problem is nabbed makes it seem like he was the problem
Yep.
when there
He
is
was a
a
perp, yeah.
homeless person robbing someone on the subway. Like man intervenes, fires gun during attempted robbery. You know what I mean? Like there are other ways to do it, except the first three words in this are saying this is who you should be framing as the villain.
It's a negative connotation, vigilante gunmen.
Yeah.
It's like the bad people, the people with guns who are defending themselves and defending others.
I just want to say this is the New York Post, and they are famous for one of the best headlines ever: headless body and topless bar.
Yeah.
Classic.
We'll bring that back because it's way better whatever's happening right now.
We're almost there again with this world that they're creating. And is this the same paper that thought Nikki Haley won last night? Because it wouldn't make sense with the way
a news
they
alert.
perceive reality.
Guess who won the debate?
indeed.
Nikki Haley. And I was like, I know she did it.
A New York Post alert?
Not a New York Post. I'll have to look at it. But I got like a news alert on my phone being like, who won last night's debate? Nikki Haley, just in case you didn't, no questions. She won.
Sure.
Wow. And if you didn't, if you watched it, you'd just be like, huh? It's crazy. They can't control reality anymore.
2 screens, 1 movie.
Is anyone watching the debates though? Because I think Trump's up like 50 points or something.
Yeah.
You know who won last night's debate? Trump, as per usual.
Yeah, he had more viewers.
Yep.
I'm concerned that he does get the nomination and then he ends up getting arrested. He can't run. Maybe they go after the 14th. They say you can't run. Who are they going to put in last minute? They've had no airtime, no screen time. It's going to be an absolute mess.
Well, Minnesota recently said that they're not keeping Trump off. Like they're not going to
During the primaries.
right now.
Well,
Well, they just ruled
trials. California.
So the issue is this: the states do not have the right to determine eligibility. Only the federal government does, which means any lawsuit to remove Trump from the federal elections could not be done at the state level. It needs to be done at the federal level, and the federal government needs to make that determination. And they already did with the impeachment trial for which Trump was acquitted. So the way it's supposed to work constitutionally is if a president does something wrong, they are impeached and tried. If convicted, they are then criminally, potentially, if they want to pursue it, then criminally indicted and tried again. In this instance, Trump was acquitted. Wasn't even convicted in the impeachment trial. He was impeached, but not removed.
Yeah.
So it should be done, but they're going to do it anyway because it's partisan.
I like the Minnesota ruling because the judges said there's nothing under state law that says that we can say someone can't participate in a primary, and then, you guys have to decide on the federal level if you have the ability to take him off from the general election. I think it is really good that our system is set up where there are steps and there's power at the state level and power at the federal level, because that's the only way to keep it from being like, well, Colorado said it can't be on. There's the Colorado ruling's not in, but this one state did something, so now we all have to obey it. I think it's good to have the differentiation, and I'm glad that the Minnesota ruling came out first.
Sure.
I don't think Colorado matters as much, but one state taking his name off, and that's going to spike the popular vote count for him, which could lead to crazy turmoil in this country.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone won before with write-ins?
I don't know. I'm assuming to a certain degree, maybe.
There's a whole campaign right
look,
now to do a write-in campaign in the New Hampshire primary because Biden didn't register to be on the ticket because Biden and the DNC are saying, no, New Hampshire's not going first this year. South Carolina is.
Wait. Biden's not on the primary.
In New Hampshire.
Biden's gone. He's not running.
Yeah. Well, their whole thing is it has to be South Carolina first. This is kind of complicated, but it's been a ploy for a little while. They want the DNC and the Biden administration want South Carolina to be the first state in the nation to have their primary because they're saying it's better for diversity, whatever else. Biden got wrecked in New Hampshire when he ran last time, but he won South Carolina by 26 points. So shortly after he took office, this became the campaign. And so because the DNC formally decided that South Carolina is going first, this is not true for Republicans. It's a very weird year. New Hampshire says, no, we're going first. South Carolina says, but the DNC said we're going first. And so Biden said, well, I'm not going to register to be on the ballot in New Hampshire because South Carolina is going first. I mean, it is a bizarre. Everyone says that the right is fractured, but I think the right is just more of a mosaic anyways. There is obvious disagreement, whereas Democrats try to operate like they're a monolith, but they are fracturing in so many different ways. I mean, the Democrats in New Hampshire are extremely upset about potentially losing first in the nation primary, and their specific thing is you're opening the door for Republicans to spend more money here and convert more voters. It's very, very weird. I highly recommend looking into this.
It's 11/9, and I was told something was supposed to happen today. All the weird conspiracy theorists were like, 11/9.
What happens now?
I don't know.
Because are you talking about the Q thing?
I don't know. There's a bunch of
Because
people
the
on the internet.
reverse.
You have an announcement to make over there, Lectern guy?
Where's it go?
11/9 is when Trump won in 2016.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
Wasn't it?
don't know.
Wasn't that the day that he won the
No
election
idea,
in
man.
2016?
I'm not sure. Maybe something did happen. We don't know yet. We've been sucked into a.
Well, we're busy. We're podcasting. We don't even know. Somebody let us know this breaking news.
Did someone turn on the Large Hadron Collider today? Have we
Yeah.
been sucked into the sphere of strangeness once
knows?
again? like we keep
Right.
saying.
It was the election was November 8th, and it went into November 9th and concluded with Trump winning on November 9th.
There's always a Q theory coming out. We were talking about downstairs.
No,
it's
this one's not a Q theory,
it's the
though.
Greta
This is a
Thunberg
numerology
thing. It's
thing.
Oh, the world's going to end in 5 years. Then 5 years happens, and the cults are Jesus is coming back, and then the Q is Trump is still president.
Well,
Just wait.
you know about the red heifer.
I think I watched your podcast on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Jerusalem Post. There was a forward.com article, and they were just like, the red heifer's been born, and that signifies the coming of the Messiah or something like that. I don't know anything about it. I just read it in some article, and that was a month before the Hamas attack.
Yeah. But what if they just clone some thing and dye
They're
it red?
trying to.
I know they're engineering the end times.
Yes, but they can't. So people are actually trying to genetically engineer the red heifer.
That's
but it has to
cheating.
have no, it's not. These people believe they're supposed to bring about the prophecy, not wait for it.
Right. Accelerate it.
But I reject this. The idea that prophecy only ever was something to wait for is made up. These are people who are like, if it says this must be done, it's a to-do list, not a wait for list.
Yeah.
But the problem is they can't do it.
Yeah.
Even when they selectively breed the heifers, the cows, it ends up with blemishes. And so they're trying, and it's been what, like thousands of years or whatever, they've not been able to do it.
But why don't they invent some like skincare for it and see if they can?
It's
remove
got
the
to be
blemishes?
naturally, because these people genuinely believe that you have to breed it. They're not trying to convince a carnival.
Right.
They're trying to find something that they believe is signifying the coming of the Messiah. So it was reported in September that they did, and now they have to wait for it to get a little older, and then they're going to check it for blemishes. And this happens a lot, and then they say, there it is. It's got a mark. It's not a pure red heifer. But if it's not, it has to be sacrificed. And the fear is, if someone claims that this is a pure red heifer, again, not an expert, I read one article, then they will have to sacrifice this for the start of the Third Temple or whatever, which will put them at odds with Islam or something. So I don't know enough about it. All I know is a lot of people who, you don't have to believe what they believe to be worried about a bunch of people
Who believe
fighting.
something like
and
this.
fighting and causing problems because they might believe
It's
something.
like waiting on the next Dalai Lama. Remember that one kid? They believed was the next one and then didn't.
Oh, right.
China.
Kidnap him, right?
China doesn't know, and then they also declare their own Dalai Lama.
Right,
So
that's right.
It's impossible to say what happened
There's
to the
an
first one,
alternate
but they
chosen
did.
one.
Well, it's the one that China thinks is right. Though.
Right, yeah.
You can't question it.
Right, yeah, it's crazy.
I just want to know what the red heifer tastes like. Is that a good steak?
I don't know. I think they just sacrifice
out.
it and bleed it out.
Right.
Yeah. That's
What a waste.
according to like the kosher laws, I'm pretty sure as well.
Do you feel like this is good representation for gingers that we're trying to breed more red heifers? Like the
That's
purest
actually,
red
he told me
heifer?
earlier it's the name of his new podcast. The Red Heifer.
This is actually
our farming
there's enough
podcast.
of us. There's enough of us.
All right, we've been having too much fun. Let's get really dark with it. This is a really, really big story from earlier today. Israel demands action after journalists reportedly joined Hamas massacre. AP, CNN, Reuters, and the New York Times. They had reporters. This is an investigative. I'm sorry. This is the. Here we go. Honest Reporting is I guess it's an NGO that it pushes back on articles that it says are posting fake news about Israel, and they have some photos taken by Hassan Eslaya at the conflict, and there are serious questions any editor should have asked about these photos. Excuse me, good sir, reporter that we are paying. How did you get this photo? Hamas is allowing you to film their operations? How did you know to film in these locations? Were you with Hamas? What did they tell you? Now, there's real questions. Would we rather have the photos or not? My concern is, if these quote unquote reporters are embedded with Hamas, there's a photo. They actually have a photo of one of the guys with one of the Hamas leaders.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like they look like friends. And so it would seem the images and photos that came out were intentionally released by Hamas to control the narrative. And if these news organizations paid these individuals, they were directly funding Hamas.
I'm not surprised because these are the same corporate press people who are funding BLM and basically embedded with them and helping burn down
And
cities.
they have young progressives on staff who would think this is justified.
Right.
I mean, we saw
Yes.
this in the U.S. There's no reason to think it's not happening in the newsrooms everywhere.
When I saw this story today, I thought of, I forget his full name, but I think the last name was Sullivan. And he was the guy at J6 who was selling his footage from inside the
Right.
Capitol,
To
and it was
CNN.
on CNN. Yeah, he made a bunch of money, and then like
What do you
the
get, like
day
50
after,
grand?
something
50
like
grand,
that,
50,
and then
55, I think.
he's on video waving the knife, like doing like instigating literal bad stuff, you know. So I see, you know, this is just the next step for these people. This is what they do. But I would like to know who they are, like to what degree did they partake in this? I do want to see the photos, and then I want to be able to judge for myself. But like, are they freelancers? Did they know the publication beforehand? Do we know that?
Are they retainer freelancers?
Right.
Did the New York Times, AP, CNN, as organizations, know the attack was going to happen? I got to be honest. I think it's entirely possible.
Totally think
They're
it's
claiming they don't. They're saying we had no idea this was going to happen. Well, they have to say that. But look, what does it mean for an organization to say we didn't know? Does that mean an editor didn't know? It's entirely possible one of these guys contacted their buyer or whatever and said, look, there's going to be a major military action on the 7th. I can get you the photos. Here's how much I want. Negotiated. The question that needs to be asked, the deeper investigation, is how quickly were these photos released? Because if they were released instantly, that means a pre-existing relationship was in play, and these guys are likely on some kind of retainer or payroll, or at the very least sent an email saying, check out these photos, do you want to buy them? And they immediately just said yes without question. Here's a photo. Palestinian militants from Gaza Strip run the gate of Kibbutz Kfar Aza on Saturday. Run by the gate. So is this a photo of them appearing to try and get in? Could this reporter have warned someone they were about to go and kill a bunch of civilians? Is it the duty of the reporter to do so? I mean, these are serious moral questions.
Yes.
And unless he's ideologically aligned with Hamas, in which case he is a propaganda mouthpiece of Hamas that is being paid by the American corporate press.
It's one thing to embed yourself with a thing and report on it, but it's another thing to, I think ethically, you must say something if you know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how embedded you are. That's ridiculous. But like when that picture of him kissing, the kissing picture, like, is that from
he's being kissed
October
by
6th? Like, when is that picture even from? That it matters. It could be from years ago. But
I mean,
yeah, we
it
don't
only
know.
matters because Hamas has spent a lot of time trying to embed
Right.
themselves in the good graces of progressives in America. I mean, what was the line from, I think it was a 2019 interview where he was saying, equating basically the Hamas and their actions to BLM and George Floyd, right? And he used those words because he knows that there is an emotional reaction on the American left. This is a longstanding goal of Hamas, in my observational understanding of it, that they want the American left journalism class to be sympathetic to them.
Totally.
And so it wouldn't be surprising me if a journalist has a positive relationship with both a Western outlet and Hamas was like, yeah, come here, let's do it. And I don't know if that journalist is objective enough to understand what they are consenting to or what they're enabling with their actions.
What media outlet was it that said they were bombed by Israel years ago, but it turns out they were in the headquarters of Hamas that time? Do you remember that story?
There was a media center
Right.
that it was claimed this is just where reporters are, and then it came
Right.
out that Hamas used a sub-level for
Right.
weapons and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah, and we all do it. Like, this country's got bad press or working with our bad agents all the time.
I do think it's funny because, like, the U.S. has blown up and killed a bunch of people at weddings in Pakistan and things like that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, come on. So, I just can't stand the hypocrisy. More importantly, I mean, look, these corporate news organizations, they're evil. They are big faceless corporations. The only thing that editor was thinking was, I can't get in trouble, but we get these photos out. It's big. How much do you want? They didn't even stop to say, how did you get these photos? Because look, man, if it turns out that you're working with these guys, we can't give you any money for this. It's even worse than if he says, okay, you can take them for free. Because that means you are putting out the propaganda they want released. And I think, a lot of people would say, why would they want that released during the horrible things they're doing? They filmed themselves doing horrible things. They published this footage. Yeah. They wanted to destroy the Abraham Accords and shift the negotiating power back to Palestine by saying, hey, look, we're crazy. And Biden gave them $100 million.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I would recommend anyone who cares about what's going on behind the scenes at corporate media places to watch the Best Movie Network. And it goes through...
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
That's it, and how they exploit violence, madness, and what they do. for the clicks, for the views. It's one of my favorite movies, one of the best written movies with the best dialogue ever. But I think that movie, even though it came out in probably the 70s or 80s, it is just as relevant today as it was then.
Yeah, I think it's unsurprising that this is happening. I am curious what the response would be from AP or Reuters, whoever put out the photos, because ultimately they control the news. So even if they put out a statement, they can bury it as fast as anything
They did.
else.
CNN fired the guy.
Did they say what capacity he worked with them?
Well, let's read this from the Messenger. They say CNN and other organizations, blah, 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 blah. And let's see. In a statement posted at X, the Israeli Prime Minister said this. Okay, come on. CNN told Israeli outlet Ynet that it had severed ties with Eslaya in the wake of the Honest Reporting investigation, saying, "We are aware of the article and photo concerning Hassan Eslaya, a freelance photojournalist who has worked with a number of international and Israeli outlets." CNN wrote in a statement, oh yeah. While we have not at this time found reason to doubt the journalistic accuracy of the work he's done for us, we have decided to suspend all ties with him, the network added. That kind of sounds like they're saying, holy crap, we're in trouble, cut ties with him and dismiss it.
Yeah.
So
Because if it really was a nothing, they would say, look, it's a freelancer we've worked with in the past. We have no comment.
That's what I was thinking, is that this guy is probably not like a direct employee of CNN. It's probably not that. So he's a freelancer. So are the news companies just the middleman? And then maybe someone's calling and saying, hey, we got someone over there, right? Maybe
Doesn't matter. Because you can't legally give material support to a terrorist organization. So the questions that are rising with this is, look, this is not an instance where photos emerged of someone in the music festival who had been there and said, look, I was here in Israel, I was filming. This is a guy who's Palestinian in Gaza who has photos from inside Israel, meaning he breached the barriers with, he's with the guy. The bigger question is, did these media organizations pay Hamas for the propaganda material Hamas wanted released?
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. I think this ethically is just a giant nightmare, you know? And it reminds me of this weird story about there's this journalist from back in the day who was in the new journalism movement, wrote a lot of great stories. And then in his old years, he wrote a story about a guy with a motel who was a voyeur looking at the people who were in his hotel rooms. And then he embedded himself with that person. And like me reading that, I'm like, ethically, you should be warning everybody about this. But instead, he's like cozying up to this guy looking through the peepholes. That's insane.
The AP claims the first pictures they received show they were taken more than an hour after the attacks began. No AP staff were at the border at the time of the attacks, nor did any AP staffer cross the border at that time. That does not mean this guy was not there. And people are posting a video showing one of these reporters holding a grenade or something like this. That's what's being reported on X. And Israel is saying these journalists are going to be treated as terrorists. That's crazy. Eslaya now says he fears for his life. Those who stood, quote, as idle bystanders while children were slaughtered are no different than terrorists and should be treated as such. That's crazy, man. See, this is where it gets interesting. I don't if this guy's a legitimate journalist and he's not with Hamas, do we want these photos? We want to see what they're doing.
Yes,
That's
unfortunately,
tough.
but yes.
But the question is he actually aligned with them, and are news organizations paying a guy and providing material support to the propaganda wing of Hamas?
That's the problem.
I got to be honest. I don't think anyone operates in Gaza without the approval of Hamas. I don't think this guy could be a journalist without them. Like a Palestinian journalist in Gaza, they know who he is. They have to. He's selling photos to the AP being played internationally. There's no circumstance in my mind where Hamas is like, nah, you're fine. Do whatever you want. No, they probably said, here's what we expect from you. And here's what you have to do. And he says, you got it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's not CNN's guy, right? This guy does work for someone. Someone is paying his bills to be there, live there, and exist there. And that's the question I want to have answered. Is this guy part of Hamas? Is he part of intelligence agency? Like, how do you get training to hang out with Hamas and not get shot, right? You have to be buddy. This is the questions
A picture of him getting kissed. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's crazy.
And he's smiling and he's taking the selfie.
Yeah.
So it's not like they staged the photo. He was like, hey, I'm going to get a picture with me and this guy who's kissing me. That's crazy.
I mean, but if he's Palestinian, I would be curious to hear what his personal view on Hamas is anyways, right? I mean, people in Palestine have a long and complicated relationship with Hamas because Hamas used to provide social services. I mean, there was Hamas pre what we know it is today. It's not that I'm justifying Hamas's existence, but as a Palestinian journalist, maybe you view it differently. I don't know.
Or maybe if he truly was embedded and he truly is an investigative journalist, that's the role he was playing. You know, or maybe that's the story he's going to tell you. Either way, it's ridiculous.
But if he is
attacks.
Palestinian,
right?
then he's subject to Hamas's whims.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this is propaganda
Yeah.
for them.
Well, and also, like, if he's just like, I'm a nice journalist and I want to do a good job, and Hamas, maybe I take your picture, and they know that he's ultimately going to give the photos to CNN or to any kind of Western outlet, there's a chance that they're like, yes, of course, we'll treat you really nicely. Come on in. Because, again, they ultimately, there's this question of material support. So Hamas may not be paying him, but they do want him to circulate images of them. Hamas has not been quiet about the fact that they want public attention.
Imagine what would have happened if Hamas didn't film any of what happened on October 7th.
Right.
There would be limited video from security cameras and dash cams, and some people film stuff, but a lot of the most gruesome stuff we've seen, they filmed themselves, like killing civilians in cars and stuff like that.
Right.
They wanted people to see what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's messed up, man.
Which is why they're palling around with the press as well.
Or is the press... Look, man, when you go to these protests in the far left, these quote-unquote journalists wearing press badges, they're activists, they're Antifa.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But you also have to look at, like, TikTok, right? Like, TikTok has tons of video footage that's coming out on the ground in Palestine right now of people in Palestine saying, Israel is making us walk to the southern part of the state, or, there is a counter effort. And so Hamas saying, and this is just off the cuff my opinion about it, but like Hamas saying, yes, we are willing to show what we're doing, kind of tells the citizens, yes, you should also be recording and trying to distribute what's happening here as much as possible. And it makes the narrative more complicated, which is ultimately what Hamas really wants.
Yeah. And I just also want to stress that every government is doing this at the same time to varying degrees, right? But like Gal Gadot's about to show some film for the IDF.
A fight broke out. You saw that?
No.
Yeah, she had a screening and a fight
Was she
broke out
dressed
outside.
up as Wonder Woman, or
She wasn't at the fight, but a fight broke out outside.
that's
With the
crazy.
1984 outfit, not as good.
Yeah, not as good, not as good.
But everyone's got propagandists on their payroll, and we should all be very aware of that. No matter if it's this government in America, these guys, Hamas, the IDF, they all got it. And I would be.
Would we call it? Would we call it propaganda if it was something everyone agreed with? Like, let's say that.
We'd call it successful propaganda.
Well, like, let's say that everyone in this country absolutely agrees with the right to wear shoes. And then someone makes a documentary explaining why it's important to wear shoes. We wouldn't call it propaganda, we'd call it a documentary.
Right.
It's propaganda when you have competing ideological interests fighting with each other, and as ideologies fracture in the United States, everything turns into propaganda.
Yeah.
So we make Infringed. My view of it is it's a journey of, Lauren goes through meeting people and exploring the ideas of gun control, and then factually reporting on the importance of keeping and bearing arms, what the founding fathers meant. And we think we're correct in what we're saying and how we're saying it. And then people who hate guns are going to say it's propaganda.
Right.
In some respects, though, to your shoe example, propaganda would include, it wouldn't just be like, oh, shoes are good, they protect your feet. It'd be like, and they make you stronger and better, and they ultimately support every single aspect of our economy. I mean, propaganda has to do with an overwhelming lobbying for something.
I disagree. Infringed ends with Lauren saying, buy a gun while you still can, or something to that effect. But it's if you made a documentary and you said the founding fathers intended people to keep and bear arms because in order to form a militia to fight a foreign or domestic threat, the populace would need to be armed and prepared to use weapons. The left will say, that's a lie. That's not true. That's propaganda. The founding fathers expected regulated militias that they were in control of to be doing this. This is a right-wing propaganda lie. That's my point. We call our stuff news and information. We call the counterpoints and what we would view as lies as propaganda. And then the other people do the same thing.
I don't think everyone calls everything they disagree with. Like, if you watched Forks Over Knives, right? There's just like gave birth to a huge wave of veganism, and at least in my generation. I wouldn't call it propaganda. It's just alternative information, right?
Well,
it's not
right. So if your
pushing it.
argument is that we are honest people and they're not, then okay.
I don't really have an argument other than saying like propaganda tends to be over celebratory of the thing that it's trying to push.
Or
and
it can just
doesn't
omit
have to be.
information.
Sure, but
Right, so it's not overly
presenting
celebratory.
different points of view doesn't inherently have to be propaganda.
If an activist organization that was pro-abortion made a documentary that excluded all of the arguments of the pro-life side, we'd call that propaganda.
Typically you would, because it's
Right.
not balanced. I mean, that would also be true of like any written thing where it's just like, here's our side over and over again.
And that's my point. So when we make Infringed, is it balanced? We're advocating for buying guns. I think it is important that everyone does train and exercise their rights, keep their arms. The founding fathers did intend these things for these reasons. People did own warships back in the day. Private companies own nuclear weapons. These are all true today. And the left would say it's propaganda. It's pro-gun propaganda.
Yeah.
So what my point is, we have these disparate ideologies popping up and no unified ideology. Everything is turning into, like ideological attacks on everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it changes why people are motivated to create anything, right? If you think, I harken back to my example of always being This American Life. When This American Life, way back in the day, when it would come out, they do these thematic episodes and you'd get kind of weird, unusual stories. But ultimately, if you have a political objective or you have a specific point you're trying to make, it changes the type of content you're creating.
It's kind of like how Serial, speaking of NPR, it turned, when they first aired it, it was this huge phenomenon, this narrative about that guy who they thought was wrongfully accused, and in retrospect, it kind of sounds like it was just propaganda to make him sound more innocent, because now it sounds like the story isn't what they said it was, and that's because of what they left out, the omissions to all the larger parts of that narrative.
We're going to go to Super Chats, so if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click Join Us, so you can watch the uncensored members-only show coming up at 10 p.m. It's going to be awesome and fun and not so family-friendly. But also check out the Infringed documentary by Lauren Southern. Just dropped this week. It's a great film, and we're going to be pushing it pretty heavily throughout the next couple weeks for sure. And we'll read some Super Chats. R.J. McDougalheim with the first Super Chat saying, Yo. Congratulations. Alpha Turkey says, who are they more afraid of, Trump or Vivek? Trump right now, Vivek. Though they're probably right now saying like, okay, Trump's our immediate threat. I'm like, you got to keep an eye on this guy because he's doing the same thing Trump's doing.
That's what I said. Like, if you think that any other candidate after Trump's going to be treated any differently than Trump, you haven't been paying attention. These are the tactics they're going to use forever and ever from here on out.
Yep. Fatty Tang says FCC voting on Biden's internet plan next week. It gives the administrative state effective control of all internet services and infrastructure. Oh boy. I'm excited for that.
What a time to be alive.
Just gives me a headache.
Okay. Bittner Toon says, howdy, viewer since 2020. Your work inspired me to enter the culture arena and launch my own cartoon profile on X. Please shout out at Bittner Toons.
Nice.
Shout out. Waffle Sensei says, whoa, look at that, member for 30 months. Vivek will be president in 2028.
I could see that.
Be cool. I think we need more talented people. I like seeing, Vivek thrive. I like seeing talent rise to the top.
Hey, Waffle. He's in one of my group chats.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Elf Tree Hug says, we need to vote for people that love this country and want to make it work. When things become too polarized, they stop respecting the systems in place and the systems break down, i.e. branches of government, the Constitution. You know it. Yep. Matt Hudson says, I tried to be first, but I failed. My name is Matt Hudson, and I'm a world-class non-QM loan processor available to grow your company. Hire me. I'm not a communist. Also, I love Mastiffs. I don't know what a loan processor does.
They process
They process
loans.
loans.
I would assume that, but
Mastiffs are cool.
that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only thing they do, and we don't need loans. We have no need.
Glad you're not a communist, though.
Yeah, that's good. That's a
One
good
less
point.
communist.
One less communist.
Michael Angeli says brace ban struck down along with frame and receiver rule, but government can still appeal and fight it. Keep spreading the message shall not be infringed. My understanding is too is the rule still in effect pending the appeal. So
Yes. So they basically extended. I just listened to a podcast this morning. They extended the. You don't have to be a part of these two groups that how we're representing people. It's everyone everywhere. It used to be 2 lawsuits were brought, and if you were a member of these 2 companies or you were in their services, you were shielded under the original ruling. It went back and forth. Now they extended it to everyone.
but my understanding is
We're still waiting for a final ruling, but
right.
in the meantime.
But yeah. Okay. Chief Opoff says, today I subscribed to Ian's channel and I got a Timcast membership. Tim, we've had plenty of one-way arguments over the years since Occupy, but I've always truly appreciated what you do. I'm happy to get a membership. Thank you very much, good sir. Y'all should become members and hang out in the Discord because they're also doing an infringed viewing party.
Oh, that's awesome.
Super cool. Yeah, hang out with your friends and watch a movie and eat popcorn just as the way it was supposed to be.
Discord is incredible. They do so much stuff.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Kyle Martin says, just watched Infringed. Great documentary and encourage anyone, fans of the Second Amendment or not, to watch it. I think it's the kind of thing you want your family members who are not 2A to watch with you. And you can tell them, right, it's like it talks about gun control stuff and let's watch it. And then, there you go. talks about democide, when all these governments, fascists, Nazis, etc., were communists, were killing their own people.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna send a copy to David Hogg.
He should watch it. He should watch it. Sparkart says, off topic, how do you think Zelensky is going to explain to the Azov battalion that Israel is now getting their funds and now they're asking for loans they will need to pay back with interest? Oof. Uh-oh.
Man, the simulation, it's just the writing is wild, and sometimes
Yeah, that's
that's pretty good. That's really good, man.
Jardeet says, unbeatable ticket. Hear me out. Patrick bet David, Tucker Carlson, I can dream. Unfortunately, Patrick he was not born in the United States.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he cannot be president.
I change that.
I think too many media personalities on one ticket might not work for the voters. Like voters do want to see someone they feel more related to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone they've already voted for once and they did a good job. They have a history of being in government and at least doing some positive things. Yeah.
Ben Hickson says, Ronnie McDaniel maiden name is Romney, courtesy of PBD co-host. Vivek had Trump energy. You should create an anti-matrix page highlighting all the media lies to show people to wake them up. Is that true about Ronna McDaniel's name? It was Ronna Romney?
I don't know.
No
Or is that
idea.
just a joke where they're making fun of her?
That name sounds fake. First of all.
I've seen this before.
That sounds
though.
like a simulation.
That's a
name.
simulation name for sure.
Vivek definitely had Trump energy.
That's her stage name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he called out the moderator, his opening statement, I was saying is my new favorite poem. It was so
I
beautiful.
see this one, this message from Steve. He says, Marvel is turning into representation force.
Is her middle name Romney? Ronna Romney McDaniel? That's what AP.
No,
had.
Well, that would be her maiden name then.
Yeah.
Her maiden name is Romney. Ronna
wow.
Romney. Yep.
Really? Wow.
Yep. There you go.
Well, there you go. So the Marvels came out today. It's the latest film. It's the shortest Marvel film they've put out yet. It stars 3 super strong, tough ladies fighting an evil, super strong, tough lady. And it's the first Marvel movie I've not gone to see and will not go see because it looks bad. And you know how I know it's bad? The trailer opens with footage from Endgame. The first third of the trailer is Marvel's Endgame, which was 2019.
They're just recycling.
They're doing it because they know that nobody likes Brie Larson, and they've invested too much. They've got a contractor that they've got to finish the movie because it's part of the universe, so they're doing something with it. It went from Brie Larson was supposed to be the new Iron Man to her second movie has 3 main characters.
Wow.
They're like, we need someone else. She's not, people don't like her.
Yep.
So they make a trailer for her movie, which I didn't even see trailers, which is crazy. Normally, there's tons of trailers coming out before the movie comes out. I saw the one, and it's Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. No joke. And I was like, what? What is this?
Weren't there multiple reshoots of this too?
I don't know. Probably.
Look, they were nice to us. They made it the shortest one ever.
And they
grain
probably
of
did it
salt.
like,
Grain
we've
of salt.
got to make it, but let's just get it done. And apparently the critics are bombing it. Like the official critics, not the, How sad. But you know what, man? Like the MCU is a great thing. They made, it was like 13 films that were all connected to each other. And then after that, it was a spattering of garbled nonsense. So
Just like our simulation is falling apart. It kind of parallels the MCU.
Can only
world.
keep seasons going for so long.
Yeah, it's probably the same writers.
Ronna Romney McDaniel is Mitt Romney's niece. I just got to confirm.
Marvel ended at Endgame,
crazy.
and Star Wars ended
It's
at
not
Part
suspicious
6.
at all.
Yeah. Did she get married or did she just change her name like legally?
She got married.
Could distance herself from that, but still be in charge of the Uniparty.
All right. The Emperor's Champion says Tucker Carlson would be a very prudent choice for VP. He'd be able to campaign for Trump, completely negating the left's attempt to jam up Trump and stop him from campaigning. That's true. This is the thing. People are saying Trump's going to be in jail. How will he campaign? His VP.
Really?
And if it is someone like, oh man, that's why Vivek could be VP. Because Trump could look at him and be like, okay, I'm busy. Vivek, run the show. And if Vivek does rallies, people are going to be cheering like crazy.
Yep.
You get
But he
minutes and
doesn't-
phone calls from prison though, so 15 minutes a day he could.
Make a rap,
I don't, but
make
here's
a
the
rap
thing.
album.
Trump's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think Vivek's a funny guy. He's a serious guy.
Yeah.
very serious guy.
He has a hard time with that genuine humor. The TikTok dances are a bit much in my opinion.
Oh, I don't
like
watch
his
that.
Eminem rap?
The Eminem rap also, as a
far from
rap fan, I don't really like Eminem, but he's got to stop
But he
that
doesn't.
too.
It's good that he's not that guy.
Yes.
He's
sure.
he's the businessman, and Trump is the wild personality.
Right. And he still has energy.
Of course.
He's the only person on that stage with any energy.
Yeah, any honesty.
Yeah.
Did he have his I know he was in charge of COVID. He was on a board for something. Didn't he have his Wikipedia page scrubbed?
I don't know.
Everybody
That's what
has.
I've heard too.
But everybody has. It's not surprising to me. It's like one big political competition on Wikipedia.
Yeah, all I've ever seen is people just like to just say George Soros, and then it's supposed to mean
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they
yeah,
just
yeah.
say that. So
If it's just like there's so many people who they said the same thing of Trump. When Trump was running, they said that he was secretly colluding with Hillary Clinton because he's friends with her.
Yeah.
And they post photos, and I'm like, dude, like
Yeah.
Vivek is spreading a message. And if the argument is he's a plant who's secretly trying to take over, oh no, he's spreading the message we like. Like, is the argument that he's willing, that the deep state is sacrificing their position to promote American first politics and policies and anti-war, and then gain control? I just look, man. If people are spreading your message for you, just say, oh no, stop, don't. I guess like let them do their thing.
He's like moving the Overton window a bit.
Exactly.
By, with what he's saying.
And he's not gonna win.
Right. Sure.
Like he maybe VP.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
All right. D99 says, I wish Infringed mentioned that most of these ghost guns in crimes are just a gun that had its numbers ground off. I think it is 1 in 5 real ghost guns. Wow, interesting. Crazy. By the Fireside says, I'd love Vivek for Trump's VP if Biden is nominee, only to see him ratio Kamala in the debates.
Oh, God. That would be amazing.
yeah, it would be good.
We saw Tulsi body her in the debate
Yeah.
years ago.
Wow.
And we
Yeah.
can see
Favorite
Vivek do it. That would be
I feel like
great.
Kamala would somehow try to get out of being.
She
in a
might
debate.
quit. She's like, you know what? I don't want to be.
She's like, I really got to go
Schooled.
back to California now. It's
But
been too
didn't
much.
today she said she had the vocabulary and the pronunciation for the press? Did you see that clip?
No, didn't.
She said that. So maybe she's feeling confident now. She read a
Dude,
book.
I hope she is. I would love to see her get bodied.
Oh, it'd be great.
Grew
It'd be
lovely.
great. He would steamroller.
Eric Sharp says, DeShrinkdis played 4 years of baseball for Yale. Someone more search savvy than I should be able to find rosters and game programs. These should show his height and weight before presidential aspirations.
Yo.
Well, let's get it.
Yeah.
There's photos of him walking on the beach barefoot, and he has the same height difference with his wife. Then there's a photo of her wearing high heels, and he has the same height difference with his wife.
And then she was in
Sounds like-
sneakers the other day, and they had the same height difference. Like something is weird.
She was wearing sneakers at the debate.
No, it was like a picture of her and the Iowa governor and like their families together.
He was trying to walk down a step, and he tripped. Do you see the video? And people are pointing out that the reason why his heel clipped the step is because the block.
He's used to the shoes.
Well, no. The block object in the back of your foot, you don't feel the same way when you're walking, and so he thought he had cleared, and then
I see.
he moved his foot in a way that his foot would have cleared the step, but the extended heel did not. That's the argument they're making.
I want a politician who can climb stairs. Why is this so hard to find?
That is a little too much to ask for.
Come on,
Maybe-
you gotta lower your standards right
Not
down
even-
to Ron DeSantis' height.
Not even Newsom could get downstairs, which is why he's going to be candidate. Didn't he fall down the stairs at the airplane on the way the other day?
Newsom did?
he
sure.
probably did it like it's all staged to make Biden look less incompetent.
Yes.
Yeah.
That way he can lock down
You'd
that
be a
endorsement.
better writer for
If
the
we're calling
simulation.
little Chinese children stairs, then yes, he definitely
look at
tripped
this.
over one.
Greg
check
S. Fun fact: Ronna McDaniel is Mitt Romney's niece.
Yeah, see, I told you guys.
Yep.
Oh, God,
Not
that's so
sketchy
gross.
at all. Nothing.
That's so gross. Does she also like hot dogs without buns?
Oh man. Coas Inspiration
Is that a
says, Tim, I
euphemism?
have to know, does your source in the McDaniel story own a certain political t-shirt company? No comment. We will not reveal any information pertaining to our source. Will not confirm or deny.
You did see the Romney's thing when he was talking about hot dogs?
No.
He's like, oh, I love hot dogs. He's walking down a hallway, and then he's like, I like hot dogs in a bun. I even like hot dogs without a bun.
Hot dogs are pretty good. I'm from Chicago. It was crazy to me when I first left Chicago and you couldn't get hot dogs anywhere. I mean, for real. You go to Chicago, there are hot dog stands everywhere. Not stands like that's New York.
Carts.
New York has carts. Chicago has brick and mortar hot dog places all over the place. Like Maxwell Street, very famous. But you like walk down the street and it's when I was a kid and me and my friends were playing in our garage band, we would walk 4 blocks to the hot dog shop. And you'd walk inside and it's hot dogs and burgers and Italian beef. And the signs are all for hot dogs. Like Chicago's all about hot dogs. And then I moved, I bounced around and visited a bunch of places and it's just like, there's nothing. And I was like, wow. And it was a crazy moment for me when I was in, where was I? I think I was in LA. No, I was in New York. And I went to get a sub. They're called Heroes in New York, not subs.
Right.
And when I was asked what I wanted on it, I said, I want to do roast beef, cheddar, and jardinera. And he went, and what? And I was like, roast beef, cheddar, and jardinera. And he goes, What? Jardinera. He's like, hey, we don't have that. And I was like, what? And then I found out it was a Chicago thing.
Yeah, we don't have that in New York.
Don't have that in New York, not in LA. But because of potbellies, you get them they're called hot peppers.
Right.
And so I figured out how to get them. Yeah. And so here at the castle, we just ordered like 30 of them because I'm like, if you're from Chicago, you're wondering what's going on.
That's hilarious.
Why can't I get good food out here? Yo, the best thing ever is a jardinera pizza. Yeah.
I'll try it.
People should look up what jardinera is. Good luck spelling it. I don't even know how to spell it. Giadienra. Jardinera? No, I can't spell it. Good luck. Yeah, but it's awesome. It's great. It's like celery, carrots, cauliflower, and jalapenos in oil.
That sounds amazing.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Nick says, I am a member. I don't have the time to watch anymore. I will never not give y'all $10 a month. Thank you for what you do. Love you guys. Really do appreciate it. We definitely do advocacy and stuff. We're like a weird mix of like mission driven media and stuff. It's a fair point. A lot of people who are members are doing it just because they like what we continue to do. And I embrace it. I'm like, look, man, if you like Second Amendment rights, I just set a $100,000 marketing budget on social media, like set as in like I literally clicked go and the money is currently and actively being spent. The ads are running and these ads are for advocacy on gun rights, but it's for the documentary. We want people to sign up. We want to watch the documentary. If at the very least, all we get out of it is we have made a pro gun rights documentary ubiquitous through, this marketing campaign. There you go. If we can get more members, if we can make more money, I would love to spend $1 million marketing gun rights documentary. Just like with Daily Wire and What is a Woman, right? We're going to make documentaries that support the ideas we believe in. And that's why you should become a member at timcast.com. Appreciate it. All right. Mitchell Cloud9 says, coming from Canada, I watched Infringed last night, and today I signed up for my non-restricted and restricted firearms training and permit. I regret not getting involved before the sweeping bans. Right on, man. Right on. All right, we'll grab some more. Neglectful Sausage says, Tim, that's part of it. Except millennials also were the first generation to not be pushed to work at 14 to 15 years old. And now people are saying 21 are still kids. It's infantilization by our culture itself. But you do it too, consent law. What? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, not everyone.
We can't hear anything you're saying, bro.
Oh, sorry. Not everyone, because I was referring soccer games when I was 14, 15. So like and I knew other kids that were doing the same thing. So not every millennial was like that. I don't totally agree with that.
No, we got plenty of 14-year-olds bagging groceries out of grocery stores.
Yeah, there's definitely they're out there.
But it is true that a lot of millennials were not getting jobs.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
My oldest, he's a go-getter. He actually he buys broken gaming systems and fixes them. Goes through, solders things, and sells them back to the local flea market.
That's awesome.
That's very cool.
Ready to Rumble says, Tim has never been in a fight in his entire life. False! I mean, that's just ridiculous. Everybody, have you been in a fight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, have you been in a fight?
It's my hobby.
I used to do, I briefly took, it depends on what you mean by fight for sure, but I've been in actual fights where it was wild, and a kid DDT'd me once when I was in grade school.
DDT?
Yeah, because like WWE was so big and we got into a fight. And I don't watch WWE, so I was just swinging, and then he grabbed me, and then he did it. It didn't hurt at all, and I was confused as to what happened, but everyone thought it was a big deal.
Yep.
And I got into a fight in grade school, and I've gotten into a bunch of fights when I was older, but like, few and far between. Watch the live streams where I'm fighting with Antifa. There's a photo of me and Luke fighting with an Antifa guy, and it was printed in like New York Daily News or something. So this guy smacked my hand, and I grabbed him. And then I was surrounded by cops, so I just locked his arm, and he tried to get away, and I wouldn't let him. And then Luke pulled his mask off. And then everyone got pictures of his face. And so, I don't know, it depends on what you mean by fight.
Yeah.
No, I do jiu-jitsu a couple of days a week. I train at Gracie Bradenton. You should definitely come train with me if anyone is ever in town.
But is that what someone means by being in a fight, though? You know what I mean?
It's a fight. You're getting choked out.
Is it a street fight, though? It's not.
But it's not the same, like, they're not trying to actually hurt you. They're trying to win a fight, and you tap out, and they say, okay. Like, maybe they mean, this person means by fight as in you're in the middle of the street and some dude's trying to stomp your head on the curb.
You got to know, how to define it, because you're not trying to kill the person.
No,
I've been
no.
jumped. I've been hit in the head. I've been in different fights, whether it was like our little fight club we had throughout middle school and high school, where you schedule this fight with this guy and you bare knuckle punch each other in the face, or you're getting jumped by the football team, or you're at a jiu-jitsu match, or you're in a mosh pit where everyone's throwing their fists around and you leave with a broken knee or nose, like I did for a long time. I guess it depends what a fight is,
Yeah, it depends. If we're talking about like a street
they're all
fight,
fun.
then yeah, but it's different than actually being sanctioned in any way. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's still a fight though. I
I'm
definitely
not
do
saying
that.
it's not a fight for
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah, different. I guess you could say different environment calls
Well,
for
it
different-
won. I think it was UFC 1, 2, and 4, and they had to change the rules because Jiu-Jitsu won the first 4. So,
Wow.
and if that's not simulating fighting and winning in actual fighting, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Aaron James says, Tim, please shout out the millennials who aren't lazy. Those who are getting married, working hard, raising kids, starting businesses like my wife, Coach Sophie James, helping people manage real work-life balance. I'm not saying all millennials. The reason why I say millennials suck is because we have a disproportionate amount of lazy, like just awful people in the millennial generation.
Yeah.
But of course, I think the majority of millennials are normal. Work hard, we're raised well. It's just that it's a growing body. I think it's going to revert back with Gen Z, and then the population is going to collapse after that. So Gen Z's totally screwed. Yo, this world is going to be millennial. It's like, if you think it's bad now the boomers control the wealth, wait till millennials are 50 to 60 years old, and there is no Gen Alpha because people aren't having kids. So Gen Alpha is going to be really small. People who are marketing are going to say, what's the point of marketing to a microscopic target market? They'll have some companies, but this is going to be the death of culture. A large component of it is no incentive towards making new things because Gen Alpha is too small and millennials are too big. So if I'm going to look, we did a gun rights documentary. We're looking at running commercials. Where should I run the commercials? A reasonable marketing decision is have these commercials run on channels that like guns, because then people are going to want to watch. But like, hold on there a minute. What's the point of that? They'll know this already, and but they'll like it, and they're more likely to buy it. Oh, okay, but that's not the mission. So what is the ad we're running on Google? Just anywhere in the United States on any kind of content, 18 and up, let the commercial run. And it means we'll make less money, but I'm not trying to get a bunch of people who already agree with me to watch something so we can all pat each other on the back. That's stupid. But this is what's going to happen in the future. A guy's going to be like, I got $1 million to invest. I want to make at least $1 million back on top. Okay, well, if we go for Gen Alpha, I don't know. You might make 1.3. Okay, what about Gen Z? 1.7. What about millennials? 3 million. Okay, if I can triple my money off millennials, what kind of bands do we got to get? Oh, you got to get the oldies, the classics, like Smashing Pumpkins. Okay, then they do. And then the new up and coming bands are not getting paid. They're not getting hired for gigs because they don't sell enough tickets. That's just it. Is Gen Alpha going to be able to fill a 4,000 seat venue? Are they going to be able to fill a stadium? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
It's going to be aging. Like, look, Blink-182 just came out with a new album, and it's like doing really well. Their album's doing really well because nostalgia sells. It's not absolute, but with population decline narrowing down, even young people, what's going to happen is you're going to have some 20-year-old businessman. Millennials are going to be in their 50s and 60s, and this 20-year-old dude's going to be like, I make a bunch of money selling Rolling Stones t-shirts. That's it. I mean, already Gen Z wearing Nirvana shirts, I think is funny. Like, I think you died after Kurt Cobain, but it's cool that you're wearing
Name
a shirt.
3 songs. Name 3 songs. That's what they're
No, there was that viral video where the one was like, I don't even know what this is. Remember that?
Right, she just was wearing the shirt.
Yeah, she's like, they were selling it at the mall and I bought it. Like, what is it? Yep.
Yeah.
And then she played it for the first time. Like, is that what this is?
Wow.
We're old. All right, what do we got? Thick Mick C Run Fast says, Trump is the guy playing Roy in that episode of Rick and Morty where someone goes, dude, this guy's taking Roy off the grid. Reference to Blitz and Chits. Yo, the new Rick and Morty is painfully bad.
I know.
Because they got rid of that guy, right?
The guy who made it.
Justin
I don't
Got rid of
understand-
Justin
I don't
Roiland.
understand how we would have shows like this. Doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
the best part is that he is now basically found innocent as far as everyone can tell. Nothing has happened to him. That's the best
People
part about it.
are still dragging him over some leaked messages. I don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
But the real accusations that got him fired from everything was domestic abuse that was proven false.
Yeah, it was proven false. That's amazing.
And
That's
now-
the funniest part.
The funny thing is, so Justin Roiland voiced like most of the characters. He voiced Rick and Morty. They've replaced him, and the first few episodes had no Morty in it because the dude just sucks at doing the voice.
Yeah.
And now the episode with Morty, it sounds like the dude after he voices Morty is gasping and wheezing because he's struggling and straining himself to do this voice. The voice, like the current voice of Morty sounds like he's always got to stick up his ass.
Yeah.
It's just like it's an agitated way to do the voice, and it's just like, oh, this is so miserable.
I won't watch it. It ended for me. It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. It's like you with the Marvels. Like for me, Endgame was the end. Thank
Yeah,
you
it was.
very much. I appreciate that. The same thing with Star Wars. Like 6 was the last one. Everything else is not
Fan fiction.
Yeah, it's all fan fiction.
Yeah.
Sometimes things have to come to an end. I mean, I hate to say that, and
you're
partially with Rick and Morty, it's sort of an unfair because it was premature, but things can't last forever, unfortunately, and sometimes it's better to stop. I'll reference one of my favorite shows, Gilmore Girls, where the writer and producer and her husband got into a huge debate with the studio, and so they left after the 6th season, and a lot of people who watch it just don't watch the last one because it wasn't written, so it's not the same feel.
I got an idea. We're going to create the Timcast documentary universe. And what we would do is, at the end of Infringed, after the credits, it shows like, Lauren sitting at a bar drinking. And then like Benny Johnson will walk in or something, and he'll be like, I need to show you something about this. And then he slides like a voting report to her. And then it's like, because that's what MCU, all it really was they were marketing their next movie.
Yeah.
And then they decided later, like, I guess they're all in the same universe. Let's connect them.
Yep.
And we'll do the Avengers. And it turned into a universe.
Do that.
It was great
Benny
though
slides
because
to her
they were making
Read
people
this.
wait for that dopamine dump though. You were waiting a couple years in between movies. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I loved about those post-scene credits.
It's like it's like
right.
forced what's the word? Forced gratification, forced delayed gratification.
Yes.
to
And
make me wait.
some of the end scenes don't even make sense anymore. So they stopped making sense. Like at the end of, I think at the end of Hulk, was it the end of Hulk? You get the general meeting with Robert Downey Jr. And it was like signaling Iron Man or whatever. But I don't know. I think Iron Man was first. I don't know, whatever. And
Yeah,
then
it was first.
So then what movie and what was before? There was a movie that ends and it shows them talking to Robert Downey Jr. Maybe that was the Hulk and it was for part 2 or something. But it used to be like, after I think Captain America or something, or one movie they find Thor's hammer or whatever.
Right.
So it was a direct, hey, this movie's next. There was one movie that ended and it was like Harry Styles was there. And everyone's like, oh, and then like nothing happened with that. And
I
everyone's
was
like,
trying to
okay.
make that guy relevant. Just
Yeah, I don't
annoying.
know. I was like, I guess he's here. That
I
was
swear to
pointless.
God, if they ruin Deadpool 3, I'm just...
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll go see that one.
I will go walk
All
in
right.
a building. I am,
All right, everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, become a member to watch the uncensored members only show and check out the documentary Infringed. We're going to be hanging out with you and taking your calls. You can talk to us and our guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Adam, do you want to shout anything out?
I'm on X exclusively. Facebook got rid of my account again for some unbeknownst reason. So I'm on X exclusively. I'm at Lectern Leader. So come give me a follow. A lot of satire. You'll probably hate most of what I say, but that's who I am.
Awesome. It was awesome doing the show with you, man.
Yeah, thanks
Awesome to meet you. I'm at Shane Cashman everywhere. My next story that I got coming up, I got to spend the day with the NWA wrestlers. That was a crazy day. Shout out to Billy Corgan and the world's heavyweight champion, EC3, who's probably watching right now. They let me hang around, see a lot of cool stuff, talk a lot of cool pro wrestlers. And I see a little distinction between pro wrestling world and also American politics. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody pretty soon.
That's awesome. You can find that at Timcast News. You go to timcast.com, click on the read tab, look for Shane stories, look for stories from Chris Bertman, from me, from a bunch of other people. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast News. Follow at Timcast News on Instagram and X. And if you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b and I'm on X at HCBrimlow. Guys, thank you so much. Bye, Serge.
Bye-bye, Hannah Claire. I am happy with today's episode. It was fun. Pleasure to see you as always. And I am excited for the after show. Let's do this.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.